Chapter 292, Mad Ideas, Winterhold, 4,000 meters above the sea level. Wawuff! Whoa! The world was witnessing the first recorded case of skydiving in the history of Tamriel performed by two redheads, Ela and I, John Dare. You crazy bastard! Don't leave me! What? Can't handle a little living? You bastard! We were not panicking. Ela was shocked, but we yelled to hear each other. You are crazy! Shut up and live. Enjoy it. I held her hands and helped her adjust her body in a skydiving position under me and tied us together with agreed. I also protected our eyes with a spell. Our balance finally settled and we started to freefall. The appearance of the world at sunset from above was purely magnificent. There were no clouds, but the air was freezing, but we endured it. You like it? You are mad. Thanks. No, I am cursing you, Icebrain. You are truly mad. I am called John Dare for goodness sake. John mad. Nope, I'll stick with Dare. I couldn't see her face, but she was surely making a complicated face. You know how to get us down safe? She asked. What? Of course not. How can I? Wait a second. Not funny. You moved us up with magic so you can move us back down, right? Well, in theory, if you teleport while moving, you will keep moving. We were still before we teleport, then we started to fall. If I teleported us to the ground right now, we will be turned into a meat paste as soon as we arrive. She was now scared. I can feel it. But I can fly with magic, so no problems anyway. Say that from the beginning, you dolt. Oh, why so serious? Have fun, girl. You may never experience this ever again. I don't want to. I mean, you may not to, because I may not be able to fly properly with magic, then fall and crush and die. What? Can't take a joke? I hate you. Hey, I just got a wild idea. Don't want to hear it. We can't just be the first couple who skydived in Tamriel, we can also be the first couple who had sex while skydiving in Tamriel. No way. Yes way. And we landed with a parachute made of greed. I could have just used levitation spell, but the falling force was too much to withstand with the lifting power of the levitation. Still, that was great. It was really epic, as if gravity itself was helping us. For the sake of research, I researched it and it actually happened. My source? Check your history from last night. Ela seemed to have had her fair share of living for one day. She passed out right when her feet touched the ground, even though she had strong orgasm midair. I took her into the Haven Ring and let her sleep. Damn, why does she like scratching my body so much? I had to heal myself after both times I've been with her because of how her habit of using her nails to dig into my skin when she reaches climax. In both times, we did something none have ever done before. Destroying a forest and skydiving. I just wonder what idea we may come up with next time. Anyway, no one saw us when we landed back at Neo Sarthal. It also made me think of how should I fortify the city from an aerial infiltration. I started using my head as fast as I could and decided to enchant a new device. As I jumped into the Haven Cube, I started looking around for my materials and gathered a big gem and many other tools. Let's see, a radar needs to be able to detect enemies. We have an hostiles identifying systemic enchantment in the Tesla Towers. We hid on the fort wall. This enchantment required a weapon to work on, and that enemy's hostility must be directed to the personnel on the fort wall. It would be really complicated if I made one on all the entire city. My head started to work on the radar device I was trying to invent using magic. In the end, I managed to mix spells like Alarm, for hostility detection, and a Soul Scry, to not detect anything other than black souls on one gem, then connected it to a screen which is also connected to a magic frequency detection tower. The device will work, but I am really depressed. I wanted to catch spies too, but that needs a very complicated enchantment. I took another gem which was a flawless diamond. The size and the quality were both top-notch. It was something that I kept hidden away from the girls. A rare gem like that meant it can be enchanted way better than your common rubies. I put my heart and soul on it and started making an enchantment I was curious about. I used the binary-coded enchanting method to make this one. An enhancement to process the code into runes and another to make the code evolve and calculate for itself. In order to not let it go haywire, I needed to seal its potential because it kept evolving in the wrong direction. I added that gem to a light screen that can read the binary data and tried to give orders to set up a certain system of processing information. I made many trial and errors and removed all the commands I gave once and twice as I could feel something was missing. I was trying to teach the enchantment how to curious, but it was rather misunderstanding me as if it was acting like an animal. Wait! I looked at the log of the soul gems I have and found what kind of a soul was that in the gem. A grand soul made of fusing many dear souls. Hold up a minute. Fusing souls needs the same type of soul to success, as we can't mix a lesser deer soul with a lesser wolf soul to make a common soul. We need it to be the same kind of creature. Can it be that the reason is the soul behavior? Then the soul behavior, a term that is not really fixed or used, and some think it is just a myth. The soul inside the gem dissolves to be a raw magical power, but what if that raw power still possesses some sort of awareness? Old soul gems are proved to not have soul behavior, but fresh ones show some kind of it. Then instead of using the enchantment with such a crappy soul of a deer, I can actually use a soul that seeks knowledge. Still, the only beings that seek knowledge are mortals. No, that's dangerous. I can't do that. I took it upon myself to not ever do such a thing again after the thing with Azura. Still, that took me to a dead end. There are no other beings that would be prone to seek knowledge like mortals, or so I thought. There is one type of beings that would do so, the Daedra. Or to be more specific, the Daedra of Hermias Mora, Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge and Fate. And look who possess 4 artifacts of Herma Mora in his storage. Me. My absent-mindedness took me in front of the Space 51. Where I keep all the dangerous stuff. The Skull of Corruption, the Staff of Sheoth, the Fork of Horripilation, the Savior's Hide, the Skeleton Key, the Black Star and my Sith Mask Krylon. These are all the artifacts of great power that I have gathered from the places I went to. There are also some blueprints for my inventions as well as the books that Alf gave to me and lastly, the Black Books, which are the artifacts of Herma Mora I am after. I looked at the 4 black books and I didn't really know which is which but I had to pick one randomly. Nefertiti. Yes, Human. Come to my location. I told her to come and she teleported to my place using the Shadow Realm. What is it? She transformed into her human form when she felt that there is a serious matter. Watch over me. I am doing something crazy. Should I bring Jolinar? No, she must be busy with her spiders. Fine. Nefertiti backed away and sat on the ground. I sighed and picked a black book randomly. The black book had an eerie sensation with its black outer texture that felt a bit moisty and tingling. On it, there was drawing of a grotesque slug being with a lot of eyes, tentacles and pincers as if a being of the Lovecraftian fantasies is coming to life. Here goes nothing. I opened the book and it led me to the first page. There was written, Untold Legends. As the great ships of men crawled the waves to their destinies, there were, after long years, a number of tales lost in the mists of morning. Even after the forgetting though, wisps of story find ways to receptive ears, as even the deepest of secrets never truly dies. When fires burn and the night grows soft in, green tentacles shot out of the book and bound my arms, and before I finish reading the first page, I didn't resist but I was not feeling well. The tentacles reached around my body and my head and finally, my consciousness started to fade. Chapter 293 Black Book Untold Legends. So, another seeker after knowledge enters my realm. I am Hermias Mora, Prince of Fate and Lord of Secrets. This is Apocrypha, where all knowledge is hoarded. Perhaps you will prove clever enough to uncover the secrets hidden here. If so, welcome. Perhaps you are a fool or a coward. If so, you are in peril. Read your book again and escape before Apocrypha claims you forever. The ringing deep voice of Hermias Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Fate, rang deep within John's very soul. His words made a powerful warrior like John shiver, but he was not worried. He grasped on the black book that was still in his hand and put it in his backpack. John wasn't worried about going in Apocrypha, as getting out was easy. The only problem here is how he will suppress his lust for knowledge. John is a bookworm, and Apocrypha is the grandest library of them all. A whole world as a library, and he just walked into it all by himself. The place around him would give the sanest minds the scare of their lifetime, but John anticipated its appearance and held tight. It was a long corridor that went down from where John stood. Around him, the walls were made of decaying brown books, and the ground was made of papers and note. The words around them made John feel like he is tempted to read, but he knew they were just some unreadable gibberish. The real bizarre thing was the ceiling that was open to the sky that looked like a green swamp with clouds of green tentacles coming down from it. The appearance was simply terrifying. John still could manage. As he walked down the corridor, he spotted down some green smoke that looked a bit eerie. John knew it was harmless, but once he walked through it, his skin itched and felt very uncomfortable. Poisonous acidic gas. John passed through it naturally and kept walking down the path that went left and right with no deviation. He found a platform with some books and soul gems on it. The books were rare ones that were hardly found on Tamriel, so John made sure to collect them. He came to Apocrypha prepared after all, and he put all these books in his backpack. He walked again until he reached an altar. On it there was a book with a lot of runes moving around on it. That was the book that would lead him to Chapter 2. Apocrypha is the realm of Hermias Mora, a large world made of a grand sea of dark green ink and islands known as the Book. Each book was made of chapters and can be accessed from Tamriel through a black book. Right now, he was accessing Chapter 2 of this book, Untold Legends. The scene around him changed, and he found himself in front of another altar that would lead back to Chapter 1. John turned around and survived the place, detecting some beings around. He had to identify the location he was in first. Chapter 2 was a large high platform on the sea of ink with not many walls but made of few bridges and such. He could only try to use magic and levitate to gain himself a more battleground. As John advanced, the first being he met was a lurker. Lurkers are large Daedric creatures that come from the murky waters of Hermias Mora's realm of Apocrypha. They appear as fish-like giant humanoids who serve their prince by guarding forbidden knowledge. Lurkers use their long legs for stomping attacks, and can attack from afar by spewing tentacles from their mouth. As John started to battle the large creature, he was moving as fast as he could and used many kinds of spells to attack the lurker. He summoned many bonemen from the soul cairn and some frost atronax to hold the lurker in place, but the beast was really strong. John was shot with tentacles and felt a great deal of pain, but in the end, he spammed a ton fireballs on the lurker, turning it to pieces. John was really annoyed with the poisonous acidic ink of the tentacles and had to heal himself for some time. He then proceeded and found the altar with the book to Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was a single closed room where he had to face a seeker. Seekers are grotesque tentacled Daedra with many hands and tentacles on their bodies, as if they came out of a Lovecraftian novel. They are servants of Hermias Mora, usually guarding tomes of forbidden knowledge and reading them if they were idle. Seekers have the power to banish prey with sound attack. They are rarely seen outside the Apocrypha. The battle against a seeker was much better than a lurker. Seekers are not that strong anyway, and John managed to defeat the creature and trap its soul as a prize. He also found a spell tome to conjure those dirty things in Tamriel. From that point onward, John managed to get how things work around Apocrypha and how to battle the creatures of this Lovecraftian world. He killed many Seekers and took their souls after he advanced to Chapter 4. In the end, he reached a large altar where a larger version of the Black Book waited for him to come. That was the main reward of all Black Books. John opened it and managed to read some words. He can have the choice to pick one of 3 gifts Hermias Mora can bestow on him. The first was Black Market, a spell to conjure a Draymora merchant from Oblivion that would sell and buy various stuff, a really good way for John to get rare materials. The second was Secret Servant, which would summon a Draymora butler to serve John for a certain amount of time. The third reward was Bardic Knowledge, which would summon a spectral drum to play around John and buff his stamina. Or so he thought. The first 2 were the same as the game, but the third it was a bit different. It said that as long as the caster can understand any instrument, he or she can make a spectral version of that instrument to play itself and make certain buffs or debuffs depending on the tone it plays. As John read that, his smile grew silly. Chapter 294 New Technology. In the game, Bardic Knowledge was just a minor power that would increase the stamina regeneration by calling out for a spectral drum to keep playing a motivative tone or whatever. In reality, this thing is simply too overpowered. As long as one has a minor understanding of a certain instrument, one can summon a spectral version of it and make it play. Depending on the type of instrument and the type of tone being played, a buff or a debuff can be cast. What are the possibilities of such power? Let's say, for a person like me, it is limitless. Why? Instead of summoning a spectral drum, lute or a flute, I can summon a piano, an organ, a violin or even a French horn. But does it end there? Nope. Anything that can make music is qualified to be summoned in a spectral state, and that includes gramophones, stereo speakers or a DJ mixer. Well, I don't know how they work, but I at least studied something before about the speakers, so I'll manage. I couldn't wait to use such power, but I had to return to Mundus first, as the air of Apocrypha was giving me chills. I would be mad if I stayed longer than that anyway. Thankfully, the way of return was easy and I read Book, Untold Legends, once again and my consciousness faded. Next thing I know, I was laying on the ground covered by some disturbing tentacles while Julliner, Ela and Nefertiti were looking down at me. Told you he's a pervert? Jull said to Ela. It is so eerie, how could he stand such a thing being on his skin? Ela looked at me with disgust. Homan is immune to any sensation except fluff. Nefertiti defended my honor and reputation. I staggered up from my place and cracked my stiff bones. Without replying at them, I took the Black Book and returned it to its place after making sure it was well sealed. So, what were you doing opening a Black Book without us knowing? Jull said. Unfortunately, each Black Book is one-person ticket to Apocrypha. And you know I wouldn't pay a visit to Oblivion unless it is urgent. Also, I picked the book with the least evil aura. I see. Oblivion? Opposite to Jull's understanding expression, Ela turned pale. You just said you had sex while skydiving, which none of us tried before, so him going to Oblivion on a whim is not that strange, okay? We'll all get there in the end. Jull explained. Ela was trying to understand the logic. Don't worry about her. She is an adrenaline junkie, so she'll fit in just right. Oh, welcome aboard, Wolf Girl. So, what was so important that made you go to Oblivion? I wanted to fill some soul gems with Deidre souls, and got a nice reward in the way. You should try it sometime. I'll pass. By the way, that operative that you sent to Mortal returned with this item. You said you wanted it. Jull handed me a dagger hilt. Oh, that's the hilt of Maroon's razor. I'll put it with the blade shards. And we are going. Okay. Jull pulled Ela out of Space 51 and headed out to show her the rest of the cube spaces, and I started reorganizing the room, and put the shards and the hilt together. Now I only need the scabbard and the pommel. And now, it is time. I cast Bardic Knowledge, and made headphones and a microphone connected to each other. Nefertiti. Yes, Human. See that thing? I pointed at the mic. MHM, she nodded. I want you to fluff at it. Give it all you got. She tilted her head, then looked at the mic. Okay. She seemed hesitant at first, but she switched to normal form right, and I put the headphones on right away. I started hearing the sound of her movement as she approached the mic. Goosebumps overtook my whole being. It is finally happening. She walked by the mic and rubbed her body on it. It was then. The sound manifested in my headphones was clear and carried a strong magical energy. She got closer and purred at the mic. Purr. It really happened. The cat ASMR. I think I saw Holy Cat Goddess smiling on me for a second just there. Cat bless. After experiencing a full session of the glorious cat ASMR, I returned back to the workshop space in the cube. I started using the soul gems with the souls of the seekers and fused many of them together until I got a grand soul gem. Now, the enchantment I was working on should take the characteristics of the seekers, who are the Daedra that gather knowledge for Hermias Mora. With souls that has curiosity as a part of their behavior, I am sure the radar enchantment will work just fine. Still, it needed time for the trial and error stage. I know it will work because the soul and the enchantment work together really well. I powered the device by a Magica reactor, and it started showing signs of response to the space. The screen started working as I predicted, and a 3D map appeared on it. The map took the shape of the cube spaces I put together and started to act as I expected immediately. It had a few modes installed: hostility detection, a search, and all detection. They function as they were called. The soul of the seeker is an undying Daedric vestige, so it will try to act on its own and go wild, but an enchanter like me won't leave such a thing for the chance. I put many restraints and seals on the soul gem and the enchantment so that the soul of the seeker remain in an illusion loop that it has returned to oblivion. Daedra are impossible to kill, and the rule applies even on the lesser ones. If a Daedra was killed, its fake soul, which is known as the vestige, will return to its origin in oblivion and will go through a rebirth to become the same Daedra once again with everything intact. This meant that the Daedra creatures are not really living or dead. The living creatures need an Edric vessel called the soul, and the undead need a magic vessel created by necromancy. The Daedra is something in between, powered by the vestiges of oblivion, but they are still fit to use in enchantments even though they are really dangerous. One of the examples is the Tale of Feefoken, a quill that was enchanted by the soul of a Daedra called Feefoken that served the Prince of Wishes, Clavicus Vile. That quill could change any script written by it into a beautiful piece of art that no mortal can write anything like, but there was a cost. That quill would possess its user until his demise, which will probably be orchestrated by it. I recommend reading The Tale of Feefoken in a book with the same name in the game. I, on the other hand, made sure that such a thing doesn't happen to my little radar over here. I need it to be restrained and work as I command. The device has a metal case to contain its parts, which were a screen, a Magica reactor, an antenna, a control orb, the command gems, which are enchanted gemstones linked together by elven steel wires, and 3 switches. They all were arranged in the metal case together, and only the light-emitting screen was installed outside above the case. Looking at it, I had a weird feeling. Did I just create a magical Macintosh computer? Chapter 295, The Offical Third. And it was just the start. For the following 3 days, I just locked myself in my laboratory and started working on all the new ideas that I got. The soul gems with seeker souls didn't run out yet, and I invested a lot of gemstones on my work. I came up with 2 new things after all that. I now have surveillance orbs devices with a new memory storing system. The memory gems were not as good as the original memory crystals that appeared in Hammerfell and Clockwork City, but they were storing changing enchantments and reading the data back, so it sounded pretty much like the magnetic storage method that was used in electronics on Earth. I added a facial recognition ability to the surveillance orbs, and it started to take notice of details and seek the face shapes of the people walking around the town. After I installed them around Neo-Sarthal, the next day, they alerted me to a boy who was stealing from the food storage. A very good result, I would say. The next device I came with was an upgrade of the auto-targeting system on the Tesla towers fixed on the walls. I can now install the mechanism on the anti-air ballistas and the Magicka cannons. Speaking of which, a new generation of magic cannons was applied in Neo-Sarthal, different than the naval-grade fireball cannons. These Magicka cannons would shoot blasts of blue pure Magicka, and the damage was a bit scary. I got the idea from the function of the Bloodskull aura and created something similar that can work on Magicka reactors. Why did I do all that? Arming the town and adding complicated Magicka defenses? The answer is not easy to say, but I am afraid. Actually, I am terrified. The Dare Dragon group has kept a low profile for long enough, and we started to attract a lot of attention lately, especially after I started moving on a wide range and clashed with the intelligence agencies of the Empire and the Stormcloak. I wasn't worried at first because of my personal strength, but let's face it, Winterhold is not strong enough to remain intact without me. I don't want to be a hero who saves Winterhold every time. I just want to sit around and watch it save itself and handle things on its own. And who knows, maybe I may not be able to save it one day and a tough situation comes up. I need a superpower behind me. I have a lot of money that I can't spend it all in one lifetime, so it was the time to start doing something actually useful with it. And the last thing is that I made many enemies recently, and I need my town to survive the trials yet to come. No defense is enough for the chaos that will arrive in the latter half of Year 4 E201. I won't get satisfied if I don't have enough defenses that can be as strong as the Dare fleet. Strong enough to repel an army from just the walls. Anyway, Jelinar started yelling at me after 3 days of being completely engrossed in work. I was dragged back to Winterhold town and thrown into the bathhouse to have a shower. I am sorry, the inspiration is not something I should push away when it comes. I really wanted to work like that for a long time. Shut up. You and Alina become so obsessed when you start saying magical terms I can't comprehend. What on Nirn is that magical engineering? It is so complicated. Even alchemy is not that hard. No, alchemy is not predictable, so it is fun. The word I am looking for is boring. Yes. Why do you have to dig deep behind every truth like a sane person? It may ruin your head. Jul was really pissed. Well, I guess that's how you see things. Magic is about the truth of things. No, it is supposed to be about blasting things off and having fun. Calm down, Sheoth. Her madness was really acting up tonight again. What are you two talking about? From behind the vapor of the bath, Ila's voice came out. She walked in the bathtub with a towel wrapped around her chest and waist. I only grinned and cast telekinesis, taking the towel away from her. We're talking about magic. Whatever, I don't get it anyway. She hid her body with her arm and went in the water away from me. She seemed to be still taking distance from me after all that. I just winked to Jul and she nodded. I am going to bring some drinks, Jul said and walked out. It was only me and Ila now. So, what do you think? About what? What you saw. It is all right. Winterhold is way better than what we heard about, and the worker is good. I am talking about myself, I said. What do you mean? You said that all us Lord do is to sit around on their butts all day and do nothing brave or adventurous. Ila looked at me for a while and nodded. I am not going back at my words. Oh! I will only say that you proved that you are different, but that doesn't mean the rest of the lords are. Well, that's good. What? Me being different? Are you always this smug? All day long. Come closer. I signaled for her to come closer, but she seemed hesitant. Fine. I stood up and went to her. What should I do to turn your head around? I asked as I sat beside Ela and closed on her. She remained unfazed, unlike each time I get close to her. She then turned around and looked at me. Her eyes were not as cold as before, instead, they were bright and gleaming golden. I could feel her gaze so sharp but so frivolous, and her smile was wide and clear. She was just like a wolf. No, she was always she-wolf. Her gaze alone made me feel like she wants to gut me open and eat me from inside. I said that you proved yourself before, can't you take a hint? As she finished speaking, she jumped from her place and sat on my legs facing me and hugging my head closer to hers. Oh, I see. You were already on board. Hee. She giggled with smiling eyes of a beast. You go to Oblivion just to fill some soul gems and took me for that skydiving. I don't think there is much excitement one can offer another. She is a true adrenaline junkie. What on earth did I do to have a holy maiden, a crazy girl and adrenaline junkie in my life? Are there no normal girls out there? Sigh. Fine, but that was just a normal day. The crazy stuff haven't started yet. Oh, now you are making me wet. She shivered from excitement and her nails dug in my skin. We were acting like mad people and started breaking stuff at only the foreplay. For safety purposes, I pulled us into the Haven Cube. But officially, I got a third girlfriend at the end of the day. Chapter 296 Armor for the Huntress. After a long engagement of moaning and roaring, I finally had the best time with Ela that I could ever have. I am not sure why, but this girl loves violence to a strange degree. She would get bored pretty fast if we are not doing it rough. I am not that big fan of rough action, but I can say that she gave all the green lights, so I didn't hold back. I still don't want to teach her the dual cultivation or any of that just yet. She wasn't great with magicka, but I had a feeling I can take a new approach with that problem with her being a werewolf. Perhaps she will face the same changes as Nefertiti. Nefertiti's energy comes from me as her partner. She can use my magicka as a beast and human who are bonded many times, not only by Herson but as a firemane and familiar with my bloodline blessing. I still need time to study that, but all I want to do now is to appreciate the beauty in my hand. She was completely taken down when I took a small portion of the Anuic energy in her. This was me switching her off. She put her head on my chest and surrendered her body to me. She wanted to rest for a while beside me, so why not? I took us out of the Haven Cube and splashed into the plunge pool in the bathhouse. Jull was floating on top of the pool and made a fuss when we came. Without me again. Look at the scratches over my body. She is not ready for a threesome at all, believe me. What's a threesome? See? Ela is too hard to control when she lets loose, and so does Jull. I am not sure how can I handle them two on one bed. Anyway, the day came to a close and I invited Ela to sleep crash over at my place. The next day was a busy day. All sort of paperwork was piling up everywhere just because I decided to take 3 days in the laboratory. How can you be so amazing in a day and so boring the other day? Ela and Jull complained. If you want me to stop being boring, help me with those piles of work. Nope. Then shut up, both of you. I am going to kill on a ride with Magenta. Jull bailed out. Recently, her pet spider grew abnormally large and she started to ride it. I don't even know how to feel about it. Give me a job, Ela said. You don't want to spend some time resting. I've been resting for 3 days. Now give me a job. Fine. I started looking through the piles and found an investigation request from the Whispering Town. Here you go. Investigation? You think I am Vilka's? No, but he uses his nose. You are a werewolf too, so use yours. You realize that is insulting? Nope. I will do the job. I may also return to Whiterun for after a few days. You don't like it here. I do, but I am a companion and my place is in Whiterun. I will come every now and then. So, what about the outpost you guys made here? I said I will come. The outpost can be managed by circle members, so I will be switching every month with someone. Fine, before you go, I had something I wanted to give you for some time. What? I stood up and went across the office to a chest I have prepared for her. Come and open it. She came and opened the chest. Inside, there was a piece of armor that made Ela narrow her eyes. That is, it looks familiar, she said. You may have seen it on display in the cube, but it is a very important artifact that served me for a long time. It was gifted to me by Herson, the prince of the hunt and patron of all werewolves. Ela widened her eyes and looked at me. Savior's hide. Indeed. Her face became very serious and looked between me and the armor, but she didn't dare to touch it. You won the favor of the Stag Prince? She looked at me as if it was unexpected. You just saw me use a black book to enter oblivion the other day, I retorted. She was still trying to comprehend something on my face, then spoke. Are you sure you want to give me this? It is a treasure. I know it is, but for people who are not werbeasts, it is a good armor with good functionality that protects against poison and magic. To werbeasts like you, it is way more useful and has much more benefits. I heard that it can make your power as a werewolf grow, and you won't have to remove it to switch forms between a werewolf and a human. I just added those features, not canon. But it is still useful to you, she said. Yeah, but Wulfur and I can make something as good and look more befitting of a Thane rather than a fur armor, even though I like it a lot. I see, thank you, John. Oh! This is the first time she says my name. She always said you and he, but not my name. Kinda stubborn, that one. Fine, put it on. Ela took out the armor and tried to feel its size, but she came to a halt. It is big. Just put it on. Ela nodded and stripped in front of me. How casual. As soon as she put the armor on, it looked very big on her, and she turned around looking at me. Wait for it, oh. Here it is. The armor started moving on its own as if it had its own life. It made a strange sound as it started to change its size. As the armor of Savior's hide started resizing, it became a perfect fit on her. Amazing! Ela was impressed, and so do I. The Savior's hide would never turn down a werbeast, as I read. It accepts you as a new owner. Congratulations! With Ela and the Savior's hide together, I can be at ease. I need to ready that girl for the coming chaos too. With that, I finally got a kiss, which was mostly bites, and she set off to do her job. I returned back to my desk and felt depressed right away. Fucking paperwork. Chapter 297 Silus Vesuius, Winterhold Town, Battle Hearth Casino. This is my casino, the biggest gambling business in Winterhold and the origin of Gwent in this world. It was built in a secured location because it is one of the biggest money-making businesses in this hold. A true Nordic casino that the weak-hearted people won't survive the deadly atmosphere inside it. Each employee in the casino is an experienced fighter, and some of them are aura masters. Why is that? Battle Hearth Casino is not mainly about money, it is, as its name gives off, a battle casino that even the best may not be safe in. Not only Gwent, but also the arena of Winterhold is in the heart of this place. Strong enchantments support the building, and a ton of guards are ready to show up once they sniff trouble. In this place, few people stand on top. John Dare, the creator of Gwent in this world, Jelinar, the crazy avid collector of rare cards, Captain Geldof, the old Nord sailor, Grandma Tola, the old Nord woman whose talent in Gwent went wild after the age of 80, even Nurina comes to try her luck in disguise. Right now, I am playing a game against one of the challengers who managed to make a lot of ruckus with the rare cards they collected. He was playing with a Daedric deck and his god card was Mehrunes Dagon. I was playing with the Skyrim deck and my god card was Kine. The opponent name was Silus Vesuius, an Imperial who appeared in the game. The players may know him as the one from the annoying Daedric quest of Mehrunes Dagon. I am really honored to face the famous Thane of Winterhold. He seemed respectful at first. Yeah, thanks. So, Mr. John, I heard that you have collected some important artifacts that I became interested in. I did. Yes, I was tracking down some pieces of an important artifact to me, and I found out that Mr. John has 2 of them. You mean Mehrunes' razor? So Mr. John won't beat around the bush? Fine by me. I wish to acquire the 2 pieces of the razor. Silus said. Fine, but what are you putting in front of them? I asked. Huh? What huh? This is a gambling house, you wish to take something, but something of the same value in front of it. But. Oh. I see, you only made it this far so you can convince me to give you the pieces I acquired? Ahem. I wasn't really planning to wager on the ones I have, but I was going to exchange them for a big amount of gold, he said. I see, so the purpose of this game was to meet me. Wait, did you just say the ones you have? I thought you only have 1 piece and the other should be in the reach. He continued my words. Interesting. Did you acquire the pommel too? Yes. Silus seemed to be cautious. I see, how did you know that I acquired the 2 pieces that I have? Not anyone should know that. The first piece I acquired it when the bandits of Cracked Tusk Keep and another band of hunters fought each other. That time, I interfered with a large group of undead and obliterated the 2 parties while the second piece was collected by Team 0. I followed some leads that ended with me in Winterhold. I heard that one person has 2 pieces, so I figured that someone is trying to put the razor together before me. I had to go to the Reach and collect the last piece before he does, and now I am here for the other 2. Mr. John, please listen to me. This artifact is very important to me and my family. It was once used by a group called the Mythic Dawn. I know the stories, ending the Septim dynasty and starting the Oblivion Crisis that almost ended the world. That's a cursed bloodline you hail from, friend Silus. Yes, I know. But it is the only legacy they left me and one that I wish to be associated with. You want to be associated with the group that almost ended the world and destroyed the bloodline of Talos? The Nords won't like it, you know that? Silus seemed desperate. He wanted to be part of something great. I could tell that he has an inferiority complex due to him hearing tales of his family and how fearsome they were. From the game, I know that his parents didn't want him to pursue that path, but he found some journals of his grandparents who participated in the Oblivion Crisis and wanted to have some heritage to be proud of. I can understand him. I have grown in an orphanage and saw many kids whose fathers were warriors, and after their death, these kids always wanted to relate to the glory of their parents and continue on it. But Silus belittled himself too much. For someone who can track down artifacts and sniff the locations of the rare treasures, even looking at the card he is playing with, they were new and powerful. You are talented. Excuse me? You have a talent for collecting stuff. The talent is different than the hobby. I have that hobby and you have that talent. Maybe you and I can reach a better agreement. He became silent but kept looking at me. Here is what I know. Both you and I will go to the shrine of Mehrunes Dagon to put together Mehrunes' razor. But before we do so, the Daedric Prince of Destruction, Revolution, Energy, Change and Ambition won't like it if 2 people acquired the razor to only put it on display. That artifact that can wreak havoc in Tamriel is not worthy of such fate. What do you think will happen? To my words, Silus frowned. We are dealing with the Daedra here, and not just any Daedra. It is the devil himself, Mehrunes Dagon, the most violent and evil Daedric lord of the 17. His official enemy is all the mortal races, and he tried to conquer Nirn on many occasions. He even destroyed the continent of Lyg from the past Culpa. Culpa is an epoch of time that happened before the Dawn Era. Each Culpa marks the restart of the timeline starting from the Dawn Era, Creation Era, and each Culpa is to be ended by the Dragon of the End of Time, Alduin. Silus couldn't reply. You may wish to have such glory for your family, but it won't end well for you. In the end, the razor will find itself in the hands of someone who can use it, and those who wish to bind it will meet their demise. For someone with the talent of sniffing out artifacts like you, your value is very important to me, and it would break my heart to see such a talent go to waste. Tell you what, after we play this game, I will take you to my office and talk about a job I have for you. Interested? Chapter 298 New Anuic Energy Source. This is the last in the stock. Will return on next Friday. Talents are rare and important. Talents are everything in the world. A wise man once said, "If you are good at something, never do it for free." What I see here is that you are a man with a rare talent for finding things that doing treasure hunts. If you put that talent to good use, I will help you have the museum you always dreamt of. I am not talking about the measly museum of Dawnstar that you are working on. What I am giving you is a big building in Neo-Sarthal build with security, and a personal house for your use. You will also gain access to some of my information network and will start to collect the things I point you at. Some of them may be interesting and some may be boring, but I won't hide their worth from you and will let you display them in the museum. Of course, I may be in need for some of those artifacts and the museum will be on my land and under my protection, but you will be the face of the project. This was the offer. Silus held his breath in from anticipation. He was thinking about the matter wildly. Look, I am a businessman and what matters to me is the gold that I will make at the end of the day. The only difference between me and others is that I am admitting it. Yes, my aim is making money, but that's not all. The best way to make money is not to focus on the money, but to put everything we have in our passion. I had a passion for saving Winterhold and now I am its lord. You have a passion for making a legacy of your own, and you will have it along with many riches. This was the price on the offer. Silus nodded silently and kept thinking. But what matters in the end is the meaning of what we do. The legacy of John Dare is the rise of Winterhold, and that's what I am known for. You too want that, right? You always wanted the legacy of the Vesuius family. I said, and Silus nodded. But you are mistaken. What you really want is the legacy of Silus Vesuius, the man with who manages one of the most glorious museums in the land. This was the temptation of the offer. Why, you are right. Silus was heads over heels for my offer. Do you recognize the name Toresa Aram? I asked. Are you kidding me? Any collector knows the name of Toresa Aram, the dark elf noble lady who was the curator of the Museum of Artifacts in Mournhold, who displayed all the artifacts of the hero of Morrowind, the Nerevarine. She is a part of the legend of a great hero. Silus Vesuius talked with frenzied eyes. I am glad you are knowledgeable. Even though my last name is Dare, I am not very sure when I offer you this, but what if we made something similar? Toresa Aram has disappeared in the Cataclysm following the Oblivion Crisis, and the Red Year and her artifacts were gone. I always dreamt of doing something similar, but I never had the talent for going on long treasure hunts, so if you are interested in the job, here is my offer. I put a contract in front of Silus. He took it and started reading it to every fine detail. Truth be told, I saw value in him and didn't want to swindle him at all. In the Daedric quest of Maroon's Dagon, when the player goes with Silus to the Shrine of Dagon, the player will be told by Dagon that if they want to acquire the Razor, they must kill Silus. In the game, Silus has acquired some rare items on his own like the Mythic Dawn commentaries, written by Manker Cameron, who is the mastermind of the Oblivion Crisis, and he also has a ruined page of the Mysterium Xarxes, which is a book of great and evil power. If that collector genius worked for me, I will be able to things I was too lazy to do. For example, we will look into the matter regarding Maroon's razor later. Right now, this will be the project you should focus on. I handed Silus 3 beautiful small golden boxes and some note. He looked at the boxes and opened them one by one. These are the stones of Berenzia. Bingo! Amazing! 3 of them? I heard about them, but it was a hard task to collect them all. Do you really wish to collect all of them? Yes, I have 3 and there are 21 scattered around Skyrim. Gather them for me and you will make a ruckus between the collectors. There will be more artifacts in the future, but collecting all the stones of Berenzia is said to give a lot of luck for those who have the whole set. If we are to collect as many artifacts as Torresa Aram, we need at least that luck. What do you think? Silus looked between me and the 3 stones and then gazed at the contract I gave him. Right away, he pulled the quill and signed the papers. Good. I promise that you will never regret this. You will manage the museum and the auction house to sell the things that we deem not really worthy of the museum. I will also donate some of the artifacts I don't need to the museum. This will be great. When should I start? Right freaking now, chop chop. You have 21 stones to collect. This will take a lot of time. Yes. Well, what about the razor? Leave it to me. Now that we have the 4 pieces, I will go to the Shrine of Dagon myself. I wish you luck, boss. Silus stood up and bowed slightly, then looked around. My secretary Siv will tell you what to do. Good luck to you too. He nodded and went out. I took his contract and stored it in my safe. Boss, I was going through your schedule for some reason. It is your job to go through my schedule. Come on. Why so salty? I thought you were in a good mood. Siv has a way to irritate me better than anyone else. For some reason, she is very lazy, but she is still the best in her job. Anyway, I found that this dark elf guy from the bioresearch facility, whose name is Servos. Yeah, the one who discovered the spider scrolls that Joe likes. Yep, that him. He said he found something about some sort of energy this morning. I don't know what's its name. What's its name? Anuic or something. Anuic. Did he say he found a source? Come on, boss. I don't even understand these complicated magic terms mean. Why ask me? What did he say? I pressed on each word while glaring at her. He said he came to a new discovery. I could stand her lax attitude and teleported outside of my office right away. I moved with all of my speed and went to the laboratory house at the edge of town. I barged in and found Servos sitting around with Rundi and some other researchers who used to be part of the Creation Club. Servos, fill me in. What did you discover? Whoa. Boss, you scared me ahem. The discovery? Yes, please follow me. Servos acted right away and walked in front of me to his office. Here you go, boss. We found a new source for the Anuic energy you want so much. He handed me some research papers. I was really waiting for this for a long time. Research about the Anuic and Pedamic energies was always on my priority, but it was never easy. The 2 energies are always balanced everywhere, but what I needed was vital sources of both energies. Something either I or the girls can absorb to meditate with. After reading the first few pages, I understood what Servos discovered. Nirnroot is a source of Anuic energy. Chapter 299 Wulfur's Invitation. I am back. Been a long while. It wasn't easy and I am very tired after the prosecutor exam I took. I am totally drained, but here we go again. Also, sorry for the past few chapters being short, as most of you could tell, they were mostly fillers. We are back at business from chapter 300. Nirnroot smoothie. Isolde. Yep. Now open wide. Joel. Get it away from me. Get it away. Isolde. Not a chance. Me. A new kind of struggle began once again. We needed to see how the Anuic energy can be consumed safely using potions, and we made a lot of mixes and potions. The best thing we got so far is that smoothie. Jull created it from nirnroot and other herbs that can detoxify the poisonous effects of the nirnroot, but let's just say it is impossible to consume that thing. That's why we needed a guinea pig to confirm the effects of that torture. The one I could think of is Isolde. She begged me many times to end her suffering in the 3rd boot camp, and here is her chance. Confirm the effects of the new potions we are making. Her first impression was like, if the taste alone can kill, it should be like that, yet she survived somehow. What do you think of the results? Jull asked me. There is indeed a big surge of energy in her energy channels. She still needs to trap it and in her energy center if she wants to benefit from it. I don't think she can. Why? Look, she passed out. The taste seems to be a real problem after all. Don't worry about it, I can add the honey taste to it later, Jull said. You could do that from the start? Isolde seemed to have come back to life. Oh, good that you are back. Now trap that energy in your body the way we taught you and get ready for the next sample. Help. 3 days have passed since the experiments on Isolde, and she was now given a new house in Winterhold and was admitted in a management class. Alina came back from the Moonblade clan just yesterday at night, and we told her about the nirnroot. The nirnroot itself is a really interesting herb. It can grow in any temperature but must have a lot of water near it even if it is seawater. Nothing changes its characteristics, but it was once a different plant altogether. Back in the First Era, and even known as the Sun's Death, blocked the sunlight to reach many parts on the continent because of the fumes of the Red Mountains when an eruption happened. This alone could endanger many living species on the long run, but the nirnroot back then relied on sunlight too much. On the verge of extinction, the nirnroot developed a unique trait to consume the energy of the volcanic ash, which has confirmed healing effects, and absorbed some sort of energy that can extend its life with it. My guess is that the energy was the Podomic energy from the Red Mountain, which contains the Heart of Lorcan, the godly artifact that is powered by the very same energy. My educated guess is the plant adapted by cultivating itself to the Podomic energy to build up its Anuic energy of origin that can resist the Podomic pollution. You know I get turned on when you switch to nerd mode. I am seriously at a loss of words right now. Did you understand anything I just said? I was truly baffled. Anuic, Podomic energies, nirnroot, something to do with the First Era, and we haven't seen each other for 2 weeks. Okay, let's go somewhere. Life went on in Winterhold for the next couple of days, but the Dares were packing for another trip. This time to the Jalmarch. Not a far-away hold, Jalmarch's capital is Mortal, a town of gloom and shade out of a depressed storybook. John's reason to travel there was a mysterious to his companions, but they normally would go where he points, no questions asked. Also, a new member joined the team this time, and that was Ela. Not really a sociable person, Ela was kept company by Alina, who was the lady of socialization and the head of the public relations department tube. On the other hand, John and Wulfur were busy with their thing. Are you sure about that invitation thing? John asked. Yeah, many blacksmiths from across Tamriel gather in Orsinium every few years to compete and share skills and techniques. If I am invited, then I should go. Erland Greymane was invited there once, and they say that he bested many Orcish forge masters in their game. Well, if you say so. Come on, brother. You need to come with me. You can make trades and those things you are good at. Wulfur said. I know, but I don't think I can. If that tournament is 3 months from now, then I should be in Solitude to attend the Jarl Assembly, and I can't make trades with Orsinium anyway. To go there, one must go through Gerald Mountains south to Markarth and the Reach, which means we must pass through the Silverblood clan territory, who hate my guts, the Forsworn, who hate all Nords, the mountain tribes of the Centaurs, and the Minotaurs, who are unfriendly by nature and God knows what else. The risk is too high, that is why I don't want you to go," John said. "Don't worry, I will take some men and travel fast and light," Wulfur assured John. The Dare Dragon caravan continued the road to Mortal and reached on the 1st of Frostfall, October. Alina and John met with Jarl Idgrod Ravencrone, that John liked a lot. An extensive talk about trade, war and magic took place that day before Jarl Idgrod invited John and Alina to stay at the guest house. At that night, John told Alina and the rest that he is leaving to do some business at a Daedric shrine nearby and left the town right away. With him, he carried the fragments of Mehrunes' razor and headed to the east for the shrine of Mehrunes Dagon. John Dare and Mehrunes Dagon, the young Dragonborn and the devil himself are going to have a showdown of their own. Note: this is the end of the 5th volume, The Adventures of the Young Dragonborn. The next volume was supposed to be the Game Start volume, but I am changing it to the Daedric Labors. Chapter 300 Pieces of the Past. Note: new volume synopsis, The Daedric Labors. John faces the toughest challenges of his life before the dragon rising of the 4th era that will change him forever and will set him on a journey of redemption across the continent to meet things beyond the extent of his knowledge. The Shrine of Mehrunes Dagon, a cursed place built in the frozen wilds of Jalmarch atop a desolate mountain. Befitting of the Daedra it is dedicated to, the shrine is devoid of any signs of worship, as no mortal is to be associated with the terrible Daedric prince that almost destroyed the world. The exalted and most puissant lord, Geraint of Dagon, Mehrunes, also the Black Daedra lord, Mehrunes the Razor, Mehrunes the Thief-taker, Mehrunes God's body, and Mehrunes the Red Arms that went up, Mehrunes Dagon the Daedric prince of destruction, change, revolution, energy, and ambition, had a status carved on the shrine revealing its savage form of a gigantic humanoid with a goblin-like face and 4 arms seated on the peak of the mountain and wielding a gigantic axe. Between its legs, a large door to an inner sanctum could be seen, but that was definitely sealed. The only way to contact the Daedric prince was by the altar in front of the door. John felt some cold shivers from the foul presence surrounding the place, remembering how such a Daedric lord came to be. Unlike the majority of the Daedric princes, Mehrunes Dagon was not one of those who refused to help Lorkhan in the creation of Mundus, the Daedra, or one of those who escaped Mundus after discovering the scheme of Lorkhan, the Magnago. But he was created by the Magnaga in the bowels of Lyg to be a prince of good, and imbued him with Oblivion's most precious asset, hope. And as hope spread like wildfire as destruction and ambition broke loose, Dagon created one disaster after another, from the destruction of Eld Sotha and Mournhold, and possibly Old Sarthal, to the invasion of Battlespire Academy of Imperial Battlemages, to the last known disaster, the Oblivion Crisis, that took millions of life, ended the Septim dynasty and brought the empire to its knees. Just by the Oblivion Crisis, every cult of Mehrunes Dagon was hunted down to extinction, and each follower of the Prince of Destruction was pardoned from living once found. There were only a few Daedric princes that John wanted to have nothing to do with, and that included Mehrunes Dagon, Sheogorath, Molag Bal and Mephala. Still, for the existence of the Daedric artifacts, John realized very well that he must make sure that these 4 Daedric princes are not contacted by other people to prevent any crisis from being unleashed on the world. John's eyes were glued on the shrine as if it would bounce on him if he didn't look at it, but he kept a steady presence and a firm look. Once he climbed the steps to the altar in front of the shrine, the cold wind and frost blew hard, and he felt it in his bones. The evil presence was surly thick here. John stood in front of the altar and took out the fragments of Mehrunes' razor, then placed them on the altar. Mehrunes Dagon, Lord of Destruction and Change, I brought your blade to bring it back to its glory and to unleash its might with my hands. John Dare lived up to his name and didn't flinch as he made a balza demand rather than a meek prayer. The evil presence in the place thicker and a foul aura assaulted John out of nowhere. Anticipated it won't be easy, John hardened his heart and assaulted back. His tyrant aura broke forth and his voice echoed. Thurit uld rel. Absolute might dominance. The shout supported his aura and his aura supported his shout, creating a unique effect that stood in the face of the mighty evil aura of the shrine and brought the clash to a draw. All the living beings 1 mile around the shrine trembled in fear and ran away from the area. John kept glaring at the shrine and didn't budge from his place. He then stepped forward to the altar and put his hand on it, unleashing his tyrant aura. One more time. As soon as he did so, a loud voice spoke to him in his head. You mortal, you have got my attention. You are worthy of speaking to. You have gathered the pieces of my razor. Killing those orcs was an amusing game to witness. John listened to the foul hoarse voice that echoed in his head while enduring the pain of being spoken to by a higher being. But Dagon does not declare a winner that did no more than just that. John's face almost twisted in anger, but he kept a composed behavior. So, what do you want me to do? Bring a calamity of some sort on the world? It would amuse me if you really did so, but I can see the mockery in your heart, mortal. Your arrogance will be your demise. I know. I just can't help it. But still, you won't find a more suitable person than me to wield the razor. Oh. How so? I revolt and change, I charge and destroy, I wish and achieve. I revolted against a ruler and took his place. I erased a whole bloodline from the face of Nirn. I harvested the lives of those who opposed me, and my ambition is far from over. Who else is more fitting? Is that so? You deemed yourself worthy by just that? Even if you belittle it, I have more for you. Something that you should thank me for recovering before anyone else. John took out his last card. A diamond gem that emitted a wave of magical energy. Maroon's Dagon did not respond to it, but John took out a light screen and fixed it in front of the altar and inserted the diamond in a certain spot on the screen. I am not sure if you are keeping up with the Magical Technology magazine that gets issued in Winterhold. You don't have a subscription? Don't worry, we have special discount multidimensional villains. The point is, this is a memory crystal and that is a light-emitting screen. Put the two together and you will view recorded memories. Still no response. This memory crystal have memories from the hero of Kratch. As soon as John said that, the evil aura around the shrine turned more foul and the atmosphere became a few degrees colder. After all, the hero of Kratch is the archenemy of Maroon's Dagon, the one who destroyed the prince's ambition of claiming Tamriel. The game previous to Skyrim, known as Oblivion, told that story. The hero of Kratch was a prisoner in Cyrodiil whose cell had a secret escape tunnel for the Emperor after witnessing the Emperor escape from assassins of the mythic Dawn cult that worshipped Maroon's Dagon. The hero was set free and participated in the fight against the cult and helped the last emperor of the Septim dynasty, Martin Septim. In this memory crystal, there was the memory of the last showdown between Martin Septim and Maroon's Dagon witnessed by the hero of Kratch. How could John get his hand on such a thing? Well, he played the game himself. John inserted his magicka in the light screen and images and sounds started coming from it. Of course, Oblivion was not the prettiest of games, but John can always say, "The memories are old but we can still see them, right?" No response came, but John was grinning ear to ear. Scenes from the game were shown on the screen and conversations were heard. Martin Septim was being escorted by the guards and the hero to the Temple of the One. Maroon's Dagon appears in the Imperial City in his true form. Martin Septim reaches the Dragonfires in the Temple of the One. Maroon's Dagon destroys the walls as Martin Septim destroys the Amulet of Kings. To shift into the avatar of Akatosh, a great dragon that rivaled the gigantic size of Maroon's Dagon, A great battle breaks out between Dagon and Martin Septim in the form of the avatar of Akatosh, and Dagon's butt is royally kicked, but the young Emperor Martin Septim didn't survive, shifting into the avatar of Akatosh and died, sacrificing himself for the sake of Tamriel. So, what do you think? John looked at the statue of the shrine with a wide grin. I am sure the Empire will pay a ton of gold to acquire such a rare memory crystal to view it on public and show the deeds of the heroic men who defeated the Prince of Destruct. Insolent mortals! It seemed that John has conjured the wrath of the prince. Oh, don't be triggered, Lord Dagon. This is the only memory crystal in the world that shows such a thing. I've brought it to gain your favor. There was no need to question John's intentions. Mockery was sound and clear in his voice, and he was trading the memory crystal for Maroon's razor. You want the razor so bad? You will have it. Place the damned crystal on the altar and witness my great power. A wise choice, Lord Dagon, John said and gave a slight bow. As the memory crystal was put on the altar, a strong magical power came from it and the crystal disappeared. The fragments of the razor all rose up in the air and reddened as if they were on fire, then got put together once again. These broken fragments turned into a well-shaped and very balanced, elegant dagger. John was indeed impressed, even though he knew it would happen like that, but witnessing the magical process was an eye-opener. The dagger was kept hanging in the air by the magic power of Maroon's Dagon. John extended his hand to take the dagger, but it didn't budge. You are one slimy mortal. So, before you go, one final challenge. Ha ha ha. The laughter of Maroon's Dagon echoed, and the force holding the razor loosened, but as soon as that happened, the void in front of John broke open, and 3 Dremora Marcanaz appeared. Ha! Mortal flesh! Die, mortal! I'll shatter your bones! The large Daedric humanoids laughed savagely as they looked down on John, as if he is some sort of prey. Humph! Lowly Daedric beings, you dare act haughty in front of me? John's attitude turned naughtier than the noble Dremora Marcanaz themselves as he wielded the razor. John waved his hand and threw the dagger towards the Dremora lord in the middle, and he didn't forget to cast a space mark on the razor. Once razor past the first Dremora, John teleported where his mark was and appeared in the middle of the 3 Dremora, waving Bloodskull at one and Greed on the other, beheading. Razor grazed the 3rd Dremora, but he didn't get the time to react. John was already stabbing at him with Bloodskull, reinforced with Greed, and the Dremora got penetrated. John left him up on Bloodskull, and the two looked at each other. John had a sadistic smile on his face. The Dremora, which was an immortal being, felt his heart quivering. Mortal! It shouted at John, trying to wave its sword. Mortal this, mortal that. You guys are shit. You live for eternity in servitude while enduring thousands of death. You may think mortal are weak, but you guys are pitiful. Tell me, if I marked your soul right here right now and kept summoning you and slaying you, how long will it last till you kneel and beg for mercy? The Dremora Marcanaz felt shaken, but his hate clouded his fear. Mortal! You dare? You blog! Once the D-word was said, John got triggered right away. His aura moved through Bloodskull and exploded inside the body of the Dremora. For a being that died many times, you are shit at dying. John retrieved his new dagger, the razor of Maroon's Dagon. Razor inflicts a corrosive poison, ignores armors, has a 2/101 chance to insta-kill. Chapter 301 El Diablo 1. The Missing Groom. Bloodskull, Greed, Razor, and the Arsenal in the Haven Cube. I am safe to say that I am the most equipped guy on the land. The most interesting thing about my getup is when I infuse Greedy in it. Bloodskull turns into a 3 meters long blade with a scary appearance, while Razor turns into a very thin needle sword which appears from is a sure kill. Even Jull almost cried when she saw a razor. on me and acted like a child for an hour to make me lend it to her. Who did you kill to get such a nice piece? Even Wulfur asked. Thankfully no one. This conversation took place on our way to Whiterun from Morthal. We took the very road we once took when we traveled from Rift End to Solitude more than 2 years ago. It felt a bit nostalgic, especially when we met another frost troll that we toyed to death. We kept traveling lightly for 3 days until we reached Whiterun once again. The city was very lively and the streets were well lit as we arrived. The reason was simple: John Battleborn is marrying Alfina Greymane, a joyous occasion that will envelop Whiterun in happiness, as the 2 biggest clans in the city will create a strong bond that will keep them from breaking apart like how things happened in the game. This will ensure Whiterun's stability and the good flow of income in the years yet to come. The most common goods that pass through Whiterun are food and grain. According to the Thieves' Guild, if an armed conflict was to break out in Skyrim, the prices of food will rise up 3 times at the most optimistic estimation. Even a neutral hold like Winterhold will be put under a lot of pressure from the Empire that will enforce its laws to demand necessary goods from us. With Whiterun stable, the prices won't shoot up that much, as all the trade routes will be secured by the Jarl, who won't be on alert of his biggest 2 clans going for each other's throats when he is not looking. Also, I need the Empire and the Stormcloak to focus at Whiterun rather than Winterhold. Whiterun is far more important as the central hold, while Winterhold is only a rising hold that won't go on their way. Anyway, as we arrived at Whiterun, we were received with a grand welcome. The goods of the Dare Dragon outpost seemed to have left the people with a good impression, and many partnerships and investing offers were thrown left and right, but that was not the time for business. We are having a friend getting married tomorrow, and the best way to celebrate that is the grandest tradition of them all: a bachelor party. How we did it? Well, some things are better kept in secret, but hear how it was planned. We go to Whiterun's bathhouse. We rent it all. Wulf, Battleborn and I, as well as the other gentlemen from the Companions and Winterhold. And then we party like savages. Well, that was the plan until we all got drunk and passed out. The next day, day of the wedding, there was Groom missing. Questions like, how on Nirn did this happen? Where is John Battleborn, and what should we do now, were only the beginning of the mess the boys were in. The hangover effect and the dizziness they were in made the matter far worse. John could handle the situation with a few anti-hangover potion, but time is of the essence. The missing groom should be found in 1 hour or the whole thing will go to waste. The notable figures in the scene right now are John Dare, Wulfur, Ongium Scarmouth, Farkas and other youth that were friends to either John Dare or John Battleborn. What should we do now? We should look for him. How? And where? We are splitting up. One of us go to Whiterun, the others try to pick a trail on him any way possible. I will leave a magic mark on everyone here and check on you with telepathy. You will hear my voice in your head, so don't freak out. John made up a solution and everyone went on their way. Wulfur headed back to Whiterun and looked for John Battleborn in his home, workplace, and they asked about him in the inns. Ongium asked outside the city. Farkas, as a werewolf, tried to pick a scent on John Battleborn, but they were all drunk, and it was hard to pick a distinctive scent. John, however, had another idea in mind. What if he didn't disappear? He was taken. That was the first thing that popped up in John's mind, and he already teleported himself away once he was separated from the rest. He put on his Krylon mask and reshaped Greed into a black long trench coat. He then started roaming in the alleyways of Whiterun. The first thing he came in contact with was the Thieves' Guild operative. He couldn't use his identity as John Dare, especially after he attracted the attention of Stormfangs and the Penitus Oculatus. He had to knock a few teeth down to get some information on these 2 organizations that have some reasons to kidnap John Battleborn. The suburbs and the pubs in the Plains District. This was what he could find out about the 2 spy organizations and their hideout. There was not much time left and John raided the two places right away, but to his disappointment, he found no one there. As he was trying to look for John Battleborn somewhere else, he bumped into the agents from Team 0. Report. Who the fuck are you? But they didn't recognize him because of the mask. Slap. Oh. Hello, boss. Report. Yes, boss. Commander Julliner and Chief Wulfur were looking for branch head John Battleborn too, and sent us here. We didn't know we will meet you, boss. The place is clear. What about you? John said. We intercepted some Imperial spies last night when we were guarding the Greymane Manor where the ladies were spending the night together. What were they doing? They may have thought of contacting the clan heads when you were not noticing, but pushed them back, boss. Team 0 was taking care of isolating the Imperial and Stormcloak spies and envoys from making contact with the clan heads all that time. Even the official envoys that were sent under protection of the Empire and Windhelm got harassed by Team 0 in ways that can't disturb the relations of the Dare Dragon Company and the Empire and Jarl Ulfric. Does that mean they made a move on John Battleborn while I was not noticing too? John asked. It is possible, boss. But yesterday, the Imperial moved on a large scale to not be pushed back. How on Nern did you block them then? It was not us, boss. It was the First Lady. Alina. Yes, boss. The First Lady only looked at them and they started trembling and ran away. Oh. Good, keep looking and report to me. John parted with the agents of Team 0 and started contacting the other people who were looking for Job Battleborn by telepathy. It was a negative result on all parts. Just how did this happen? Did the lands split up and swallow him? The time was running low and only half an hour was remaining. John Battleborn was still missing. The group started to feel anxious and started to move faster and faster, attracting attention. Hell, some even started to call out for John Battleborn in a name. In the chaotic situation, a hero had to rise, and that was. Were you looking for something, human? Nefertiti. Yes, I was looking for John Battleborn. Can you find him? Nefertiti, who appeared on some barrel in the city beside John, sat calmly and licked her paw before answering. Human, you are becoming rude. Nothing is lost if Meow can't find it. Oh, is that so? Believe it or not, lesser beings like humans other than you, of course, are not that hard to predict. Oh, please be quick. This way, Human. This is Riverwood. John and Nefertiti arrived at Riverwood for some reason. Onyx and Midnight said he might be here? Nefertiti said. Onyx and Marigold. My friends. Oh, you can introduce us someday. You want to meet other cats? Human, you want to cheat on me? No, it is not like that. Just go look for that human and don't waste more time. Oh, thanks. Nefertiti disappeared in shadow and John started walking towards Riverwood. He felt a bit of nostalgia when he walked in the village, as this was his first time arriving here, but it resembled the game's version of the village to a frightening degree. Once he found a guard, he asked about John Battleborn. Oh, you mean the chicken killer? We caught him red-handed, or rather red-footed. He kicked a chicken when he arrived in the village at dawn and killed it. The people have beaten oblivion out of him. John froze in his place. But this is his wedding day. Wait, why is kicking a chicken a crime? Can't he just pay a fine and be set free? Oh, what are you talking about? He kicked a chicken, how can we let him be? He was lucky that he was drunk and got arrested to be interrogated when he wakes up. I don't get it at all. I am his friend, can't I just pay the fee and set him free? John was at loss for words. You are friends with the chicken killer? Don't move. Surrender, you scum. Everyone, stop him. The guard turned crazy and pointed his blade at John. Whoa, what's going on here? John was taken aback. Arrest the chicken killers. More guards started flooding from every direction towards John, who froze in his place. What is going on here? John didn't understand what is going on and tried to calm down the angry mob, but his efforts were to waste. Some of the guards raised their swords and wanted to strike down John. John's eyes turned cold and was about to strike back, but out of nowhere, a spear appeared in front of John and blocked the swords. In front of John, a strong-looking Redguard girl wielding a large spear blocked all the sword strikes with a powerful spear whirl and grabbed John's hand, dragging him away. "Wait, what is going on here? Who are you?" John was seriously about to lash at everyone and flip all the tables. "Name is Isha. If you want to save this town and your friend, follow me," the girl said in a Redguard accent and ran towards the woods. "Save the town? What is happening?" John ran after the girl and asked. The girl hid behind a tree after they got far enough from the chasing guards. Sheoth happened. Chapter 302 El Diablo 2, Isha. Extra Chapter. Every plus $10 Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter. 8,000 vote. So, let's get this straight. Your name is Isha, you are a spear maiden from Hammerfell, and you came to Riverwood to rid it from a madness curse that was cast by Sheoth on the whole town. That curse turned the people of Riverwood into a cult that worship chickens. Yes, I know how crazy it sounds, but it is the truth. You just said it yourself, Sheoth is involved in the matter, so it must be crazy. Now that you say it that way, you just gotta believe me if you want your friend back. Isha sounded confident and John sounded doubtful. Isha was a Redguard girl with brown hair, eyes and dark skin. On top of that, she had muscular arms and shoulders that showed that she is a warrior invested in strength, disregarding her femininity despite her beautiful face that looked way too Middle Eastern and made John think back of his origins. He sighed and shook the naughty thoughts away. The two of them were hiding in the forest outside Riverwood as Isha briefed the matter of the town to John. John was still wearing greed, as a long trench coat that covered him head to toe and his mask, Krylon, hid his face. He was completely a shady person, but Isha was not much better. She held a long spear with a mighty appearance and covered herself with a large cloak and a hood. "So, big man, will you give a hand to rid the village of the curse?" "Call me Krylon." "Krylon? What kind of a name is that?" "The name you need to know." "Fine, Krylon. Will you give me a hand or will you stay out of my way?" "TSK, my friend's wedding is about to start. I have only 15 minutes. Can you take away a curse put by Sheoth in 15 minutes? John asked. "Don't ask me. You will ruin my labor if you acted recklessly around Riverwood right now." "Labor?" John caught a strange word. "None of your business. I am to take away that curse from the town for my sake too. I'd rather be with my tribe for all that I care about right now." "Fine, I won't get in your way, but you better have a fast way to get my friend out of there," John said. Isha didn't reply right away. She started thinking and sighed. "Look, this needs some time. The guards keep the troublemakers in a cell under the town wall on the other side of the village. You need to sneak in there and break yourself out, which won't be easy. Once you do that, you need to run as far away from here and return to where your friend's wedding is, but something is telling me that all of this will take more than 15 minutes. Isha made John's problem even more severe, but he can just ride an Atranak hawk or teleport once he finds John Battleborn. Still, it was hard. "Fine, gimme a second." John turned around and activated telepathy. "Can you guys buy me time?" He called Wulfur, Alina and Jelinar. "What is taking you too long?" Wulfur. "Sorry, it will take longer. I have a lead on Battleborn, but it won't be easy to get him out of the trouble he's in." John. "Fine, what do you want us to do?" Jelinar. "Buy me time, distract the whole Whiterun if you can. Be creative and improvise." John. "Usually you are the creative one, but I'll try something out." Wulfur. "Don't worry, John. This young lady can distract Skyrim a whole Alina. That's why I love you. Go for it. John. The connection was severed and John returned to Isha. What was that? She asked. I called my friends with telepathy and told them to buy me time. We can have some time now, he said. Telepathy? You are a mage? Yes. Damn. I thought you were a warrior looking at your size. And now that I look at it, you don't carry a weapon at all. Yeah, whatever. The reason why he doesn't carry weapons is that he keeps them in the Haven Cube, which is in a ring form on his hand. Now, what should we do? He asked. Follow me. Isha walked inside the forest as she had been for days, and she got familiar with the place as the back of her hands. John kept looking at Isha, how she moved and how impressive physique is. Even for a girl, she was a bit buff but still appealing to look at. The two kept walking inside the forest and could see the town on their right. They went around it and reached the other side immediately. See that town wall? Your friend should be locked near it. Isha pointed at the southern wall of Riverwood. John cast scan to search the place, but a lot of unnatural signals were entwined. We need to get closer, John said and started sneaking towards the village quietly. Isha followed while trying to be vigilant, and the two of them reached inside the village. John searched again and again, but something was wrong and his search was being scattered away once it reaches a certain place. I found something, but I am not sure what are we facing. Still, this is the place we should start with, John said and pointed at a door in the town wall. Usually, the inside of the wall would be either the barracks or the prison, so they didn't need to guess what is that. There were 2 guards positioned on the door. Isha walked forward and pointed out. I'll take them out, you watch my back, she said, and her eyes got sharper. John didn't say much and only nodded his head. Isha kicked the ground and used her spear horizontally to knock out the 2 guards in one go. John was impressed at her speed, but he didn't mention anything and just followed. The 2 of them opened the door right away and stormed inside, and for their surprise, there was nothing at all in the cell. How could this be? John was positive that he will find something, but there was nothing. Isha looked at John and questioned him, but he only started looking around. He used his magic once again and found that the place itself has a unique ability to disperse the magic energy. John couldn't understand why, but he was sure there's a secret about this place, yet there was no time to investigate more. His friend needed to be found first. Is there any other place we can look into? He asked. I have some places in mind, but these are all residential houses. It will be hard to find your friend there. Let's go anyway. The 2 left the empty cell and snuck between the houses and the farms looking for any trace of John Battleborn. You said you saw him coming, right? John asked. I did. It was a bit after dawn and he was drunk. How in the world did someone cross the forest this drunk without being sniffed by wolves? Believe me, you watch, be surprised if you know what drunken Nords can do. John spoke out of the experience. So, what is the story with Riverwood? John asked. I am not sure. I was tasked to rid the village from the curse of madness, and so I came and started to look around. Tasked by who? None of your business. Isha became annoyed once John dug deeper. You mentioned something about a labor, is that it? Something like a secret mission or… I really hate questions, Isha said and glared at John. Wow. It has been a while since I got rejected this bad, and by a girl at that. John shook his head and minded his business. You think you are some sort of a charmer? Isha said with cold eyes. Of course, my only redeeming quality is my looks, even though I am hiding it for a good reason. Yeah, mister. Womanizer. What, you don't believe me? Womanizers die young, so watch for your head, pretty boy. Huh? I don't think a muscle brain like you would know any womanizer to begin with. Ever heard of Don Juan? No. Casanova? No. John Dare? No. Then how on earth do you claim that womanizers die young? Are we going to argue or look for your friend? Sorry, I got carried away for my kind. So, what about the town? Isha was baffled by the rapid change of John's mood, but only sighed. Even though she is a weirdo herself, she doesn't like tall and manly weirdos like John. Her preferences would baffle even John, but that's in the far future. The town was cursed by Sheoth for some reason, and the people now worship chickens. The thing is, they didn't lose their minds completely and still treat chickens as normal farm animals, which didn't attract any attention, but things change completely if an outsider hurt a chicken. John wasn't sure how to react. He didn't want to think of it at first, but he remembered something from the game. Most of the player who plays TSV Skyrim for the first time come across Riverwood as the first settlement, and there are chickens roaming around the street. Most of the player gets curious and kill the chicken for some weird and twisted reason, but they would never foresee the consequences of that action. The whole damn Riverwood would go nuts and try to murder those players. Some said it is a bug and others said it is a joke made by the game creators, but John didn't think that a Daedric prince would be behind the scenes here. John looked at Isha and spoke. How do you plan on breaking the curse then? I am not sure yet. I am still investigating the matter and there is a serious lack of lead. There is no center for the curse and there is no agent for Sheoth around. Strange. So you're saying that other than the behavior of the villagers, nothing else is out of place? I have been here for a week and I assure you that there is none. If only I could figure out what reason did Sheoth have to curse the damn village, I would have done it already. Isha's tone sounded desperate, but John couldn't be the herald of good news. I am not sure how to tell you this, but as a member of the College of Winterhold, I have an idea or two regarding the Daedra. You have? I do, but I am afraid it is not what you want to hear. You see, Sheoth is the manifestation of chaos and the good of madness. Daedric princes are the forces of nature they represent in the image of a person. Sheoth is madness and madness is Sheoth. Get to the point, Isha urged John. Sigh. The point is, there is no reason behind the actions of the mad god. He is just screwing around to laugh at mortals. What? What kind of, how twisted is, how can that be? Then how am I supposed to finish my labor? Isha sat on the ground and held her head. The word labor was something like her trigger and John didn't want to treat the matter carelessly. To be frank, I am a mystic and an enchanter, but a member of my family is the best daedrologist in the land. Still, I have never heard them mention the word labor before. I can help if you explain. John's words were sincere, and he was really interested in a term he didn't know. Isha looked up to John and her head seemed to have come to a conclusion. Maybe you are right, Nord. I am indeed in a predicament and maybe Tall Papa sent you in my way, Isha said. Tall Papa is Ruptka, the chief of the Red Guard Pantheon. He is called Papa because he fathered most of the lesser spirits and Tall because he was so enormous that he stuck the stars on the sky. A very different pantheon that we didn't talk about yet. Okay. I am listening. I was tasked by a prophet to come here to redeem myself. There is a long story of why I had to do the task, but I think you are in a hurry to save your friend. Yes. Then this is what I found out. The people here are waiting for the emergence of an entity they call El Diablo that will. Wait. El Diablo? Yes, you have heard of the word before? Yes, John was even more baffled than before. Why does such a word exist in this world? He thought. I think it means the devil, he said. Devil? I am not sure what that is, but here's what I know. El Diablo is an entity that has something to do with the chicken worship, and it is like a savior or a liberator of some sort. My labor is to rid the village of the curse by slaying El Diablo. That's all I know, Isha said. Slay El Diablo? What game have I got reincarnated in again? John barely held it in. Okay, explain to me what is labor. Isha nodded and started talking. Every word she said made the heart of John bound like crazy. His eyes widened and cold sweat formed all over his body. The term labor was far worse than what he ever imagined. Chapter 303 El Diablo 3 Welcome to the Isles. Extra Chapter Every plus $10 Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter 8,000 vote. John and Isha were still hiding in the shade of a certain house of Riverwood away from the eyes of the villagers. Isha was looking at John, whose eyes showed unease behind the mask, wondering what happened to him. After she told him about the meaning of the term labor, he almost fainted where he stood and squatted on the ground, trying to calm himself. I see now. So a labor is something like that. Now that I think about it, there was that story called The Labors of Hercules. Fuck. Why does such a disturbing thing make so much sense? Isha waited for John to calm down. He even used telepathy and told his people about the situation of John Battleborn, asking them to secure more time. Fine, let's get this thing over with. He stood up and started looking around. What are you planning on doing? Figure out what to do, John said, and came to a fast conclusion. We need to find a clue of any sort of any energy traces left by the Daedra. Can you do it? It should be easy, but this is a big deal, so I need an expert, and I know just the girl. John called out for his most trustworthy friend. The shade they were hiding in started to come to life, and a black cat appeared. Homan, I feel like you can't do anything without my involvement these days. Nefertiti walked towards John and Isha and jumped on a haystack to reach a higher level. Isha was looking at the black cat and tightened the grip on her spear. What are you? She felt threatened by Nefertiti for some reason. Shush! John hushed both girls as a guard was passing by, then let them again. Nefertiti, Isha. Isha, Nefertiti. Introductions over. You, take a human form. John cut to the chase and Nefertiti turned into her human form. She is my companion and familiar, but as you can tell, she is way too absurd for normal taste. Isha listened to John and looked at the gothic Lolita-like girl that appeared from the cat. Her head started spinning from the inside, but she managed to hang on to a thin thread of sanity. A chicken-worshipping village, and a cat that can talk and turn into a human. The chief told me that Skyrim is weird, but not that weird, she thought. John didn't have time to make a detailed introduction and spoke right away. I want you to personally search the village for any Daedric presences. We don't have much time, so hurry up. It's all right, Homan. I can do it. As she said so, multiple shadow Atranacs were summoned by her in the form of black cats and started running around the village. Isha was holding her spear nervously while looking at Nefertiti. John was looking around too, but his eyes got fixed on Isha's spear and tilted his head. That spear. I feel like I've seen it before. He thought about it but couldn't remember anything. The spear had a mighty appearance with a trident-like blade, but more shaped into a spear. The shaft was made of a black metal that had some resemblance to ebony. Good spear, John said. Isha turned to him and nodded. Indeed it is. Shame it doesn't belong to me. It doesn't. Yeah, it is the key part of my labors. All those who carry on with a labor must wield a mighty weapon. I see. John wanted to ask more, but the word labor made him feel uncomfortable. The story that Isha told him made his skin crawl. Found it? Nefertiti's voice broke John's line of thoughts. Where? This way. Nefertiti led John and Isha back towards the south and ended up at the cell under the village wall. The guards Isha knocked out were still unconscious. Back here again? Isha asked. As I thought, something is wrong with this place. But I thought there is some interference, John started thinking once he stepped back into the cell. Homan, there is a strong foul presence here. You should be careful, Nefertiti explained as she got closer to him, wary about her surroundings. Foul presence? I don't feel anything, Isha said. I don't think I feel anything foul too, but this place has a unique way in handling magicka. But if Nefertiti said foul then, John spoke and gulped, this change in magicka, this foulness that Nefertiti feels, we had past experience with something similar. The air around John became heavy once he thought of that day. What thing was that? Isha asked. A realm of oblivion. John and Isha were looking at each other firmly. So, we need to get there. This is your only lead after a fruitless week. I am not sure what's on the other side, but you should get ready. Let's do it then. They came to an agreement and John got to work. The cell they were in had what John calls an oblivion rift. Much similar to the nightmare incident in Dawnstar when an oblivion rift caused the town to be cursed with nightmares, this rift caused Riverwood to be cursed with insanity. Oblivion rifts need mediums like the Skull of Corruption to spread the influence of the Daedra around, but that medium seemed to be not physical this time around, and to travel through the oblivion rift, one needs to be knowledgeable. John made a few rapid preparations and lifted a strong, magicka mark outside the cell in a hidden place, then returned once again. I won't say I am ready, but I've done all that I can, John said, and Isha nodded. Well then, here goes nothing. John walked to the center of the cell, and started to resonate his magicka with the law of magicka in the realm behind the rift, so that he can use magic immediately, unlike the time with Quagmire. The cell that seemed to be empty and cold to Isha started to feel a bit weird right now. John was done with studying the law of magicka of the Oblivion Rift, and opened his eyes. He then took out the skeleton key from the cube and connected it to his magicka and to the Oblivion Rift without Isha noticing, and established a link. A keyhole formed and John passed the key through it. Then, click. Changes started to happen. The quiet and empty room now had a strange glowing orb of unstable magicka floating in the middle. A massive chunk of magicka disappeared from John's energy center just to create that portal with the skeleton key. Whoa! Isha surely didn't see such a thing coming. A magic phenomenon like none she ever saw before. This portal will take us to where we should go. This thing? Where? Damn if I know. John offered a hand to Isha and looked at her. The latter felt a bit uneasy, but she cursed aloud and took his hand in the end. The two walked through the portal. The other side of the portal was a little bit peaceful and a bit weirder. John didn't know the place, but he looked behind him to talk to Isha. Fuck. He couldn't help but curse. Unlike teleport and gate spells, portal is way too obscure and people traveling with portals may appear in different locations. This seemed to be the case as Isha was nowhere to be seen. Human, this place is weird. Nefertiti popped out from shadow and sat on John's shoulder. She doesn't stick this close unless she is worried. No worries, I left a safety way out just in case. John assured her and started looking around this weird place. He was atop of a hill and there was well-made road under his feet. He checked the structure but didn't sound Nordic. Even looking at the strange weather around him that felt like Falkreath in midsummer when the folk harvests the forest berries and make juices with strong scent, it was a bit odd yet somehow familiar. John didn't want to admit it at first, but he felt that he knew where he is. He walked down the small hill he was on and past some ruins that didn't resemble any civilization on Tamriel. Just a few steps forward and something jumped at him. Avoiding the danger nimbly, John unleashed his magicka and called for the flame magic burning whatever jumped towards him to a fine ash. Another creature came towards him, but to his curiosity, John didn't attack and cast bind on the creature to see what that was. It was something like a frogman in primitive gear. John didn't need an encyclopedia to recognize the name of the creature. A Grummite, John said to himself. He was now sure where he is. A few steps away from the Grummite, John went out of the rocky area and started to see the unique landscape of the realm that looked like strange spiky rocks growing from the ground and vegetation grew on it, a completely alien realm. He conjured a flame Atronac horse and sent a few flying owl familiars to scout the areas around him, then started riding with the road. An hour passed and John finally arrived at a strange town that grew under some giant roots of strange trees with wooden trunks and mushroom heads. The place seemed to be ruined and deserted with no sign of human activity at all. A few monsters started appearing here and there, from grummites to the balawogs, which are some horrible small monster that looks like a fish and a frog with 4 limbs. There were even the elytra, which are large mantic-like monsters. John's policy was simple: kill the filth from afar by the incredible amount of magicka he possesses. Even though he depleted a lot to come to this realm, he still carries a large reserve of potion in the cube. The sound of explosions drew more monsters, but John only levitated in the air and poured death from above. Once the stench of death scared away the monsters and sent them escaping, John landed in beside a small lake amidst the ruined town to take a breath. But once his land touched the ground, a strange voice came. "Ouch, ouch, ouch, you re-steppin' on me leg, not the leg, it's me favorite, you wanker. Ouch, ouch." The strange voice made John jump away back in the air. "Who's there? Sheesh, look what you done, you crazy wanker, a bloke like you can be squished with my pincers, I tell you that." John was utterly speechless of what emerged from the lakeside. "Homan, is that a talking mudcrab? Bloody oblivion! A talkin' cat?" In front of John and Nefertiti, there was a mudcrab, a larger than the average talking mudcrab. Why is it here? John asked himself while looking at the mudcrab in wonder. He saw that creature before in a previous game called Morrowind, but it was way too strange to speak to a mudcrab. "What do you think?" "Sheesh. I'm a mudcarb crab." "Sure. A mudcrab. That's me. Pretty sure. I look like a mudcrab, right?" "Mush be. This is me talking, right?" "So? I mush be. A talking mudcrab. And I sell stuff, right?" "So? I mush be a talking mudcrab merchant. Stands to reason, doesn't it?" "Nope. Name's Bruce, by the way. So, you gonna buy something or sit here jawin' all day?" John was working hard on curing his dumbfoundedness and decided to give up. A Nord man, long blonde hair and talkative, kinda brash and laughs loudly. "His name is John Battleborn. Did he pass from here?" "Wait. If it's rumors you seek, then you have to pay first." "A Nord buy? Nah words here. But something is tellin' me you looking for a Sheila, brown hair, big arms, scary stare." The mudcrab talked and waved its pincers around. "Wait, you mean Isha?" "That's the one. She wanted to know how to go forward and where to find a large man like ya. Didn't have much money on her. But I can tell you where went. Interested?" "Yes, what's your price?" Be generous, you bloody wanker." "Okay, here you go." John took out 10 gold septims. Shiny. You got yourself a deal." The lass went to the graveyard. "She asked me about the gates up ahead and the gatekeeper. I told her she needs a weapon made from the other gatekeeper, and pointed her to the graveyard that way. Of course, if she paid as much as I'd have told her about the shambles that roam the place." The mudcrab said in a proud tone. "Oh boy!" John's head started to hurt. Shambles are undead monsters made of bones and tied together with pieces of robes and leather to make some horrifying shapes of undead. He turned around and started walking towards the graveyard that the mudcrab talked about. "Hey, where are you going? You have some change left, I can give you anything you fancy, a brekkie, a barbie or a caldai, you name it. You shouldn't go this crook without a caldai, hear me word. I've that cyrodiilic brandy, fair dinkum tasty. I can fix you brawly if it started rainin', it rains quite a lot honestly. No wuckas, whatever Bruce sells you, it'll make you happy. Ain't sayin'? Fine, bugger off, dickhead." John ignored the mudcrab and sped towards the direction he thought Isha was in. Nefertiti, who was on his shoulder all the time, spoke to him. "Where is this place?" "Oh, forgot to tell you. Welcome to the Shivering Isles. This is the fringe, the doorstep to the realm of Sheoth and the world of madness. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmezi. Patreon, remove the dash. www.patreon.com/Eldokmezi. Discord. https://discord. gg/gkckva7. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Chapter 304 El Diablo 4, The Graveyard. Extra Chapter, every plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. Strokes of silver gleam were seen in the graveyard of the fringe. Waves upon waves of undefined skeletal undead creatures were hoarding towards the center of the graveyard, where a shadow was hopping left and right while unleashing those silver strokes. One needed a sharp eye to notice that these were the movements of a warrior with great strength and flashy movements, while the source of these silver flashes was the metallic gleam of a spear so powerful and domineering. Isha and her spear were moving in oneness, performing a dance of some flashy strikes, taking down all the undead that were attacking from all directions. The wonders didn't end here. When Isha gets cornered, she would use her spear's enchantment and summon a large storm Atranak that would devastate a few undead creatures before getting overrun by them. John witnessed the scene from afar as he was landing on the gate of the graveyard. His eyes narrowed as he focused on the movements of the spear and confirmed its identity. The Spear of Bitter Mercy, one of the most terrifying artifacts in the world that is associated with the Daedric prince Hircin. The Spear of Bitter Mercy can conjure a storm Atranak to aid the wielder, can reflect all the damage it blocks, and can hone the spearmanship of its wielder to perfection. I always give the Daedric artifacts 3 enchantments to make them, so the first 2 are canon and the third isn't, but it's within reason. Still, John couldn't say that the Daedra that gave Isha the labor was Hircin. The spear was once given to the Nerevarine by Sheoth. It is safe to say the spear was Daedric in origin, but it is not a weapon of a Daedric prince's. The weapons of the Daedric princes function just like greed with John. They are literal parts of the Daedric princes, just like their realms, and that doesn't apply on the Spear of Bitter Mercy. Still, none of that make the weapon terrifying. What makes it really deadly is its role in the Wild Hunt. That was said to be able to kill literally anything other than the Daedric princes, but that doesn't mean it can put them to corner. The hero of Battlespire, also known as the Apprentice, defeated the Daedric Prince Maroon's Dagon with that spear in the famed invasion of Battlespire Academy. Here is another thing. There are 2 terms called the Wild Hunt in the lore. One is a racial trait of the Wood Elves and the other is a ritual of Hircin. With this spear in the hands of an experienced spear maiden, possibilities are limitless. Rather than helping, John continued to focus on Isha's movement and saw her aura at work, a yellow earthly aura. It gave her both mobility and fortitude combined with the everlasting stamina of Redguards. Isha was a warrior that would make John's blood boil to have a match against her. Still, that was enough watching for now. Warriors were limited to how much destruction they can cause, unlike mages, and there where John had to shine literally. He combined the magic on his hands and dual-casted a strong adept-ranked sun spell, a sun blast. Much like Fireball, the sun spell landed between the undead shambles and exploded violently, covering everything on the field. John didn't even bother about Isha, who was in the way, and the blast range of the explosions caught her, but she was pretty much unharmed. The bombardment continued for almost a minute until John made sure that the range was clear for now. "Hey there, fancy seeing you again. Krylin, where were you, you bastard?" Isha was huffing while resting on the spear, but she didn't seem angry. "Got lost. Took me an hour to reach this place?" "An hour?" Isha was taken aback and gave John a strange look. "I have been here for a day." "Come again." "I said I have been here for a damn day." A full day. Yes. How is that even only an hour has passed? Isha and John narrowed their eyes at the same time and felt bad about the situation. You know we are in the Shivering Isles, right? She said. Yeah, this place is called the Fringe, the testing ground of the Isles. We need to pass through the gates of madness to advance further. You can fly, can't you just go past all that? Nope, there are binds around the ruined village that force me down. The Lord of the Realm wouldn't think it will be fun, you know. TSK, we have to do it his way then. Isha clicked her tongue and cursed. You were after the bones of the previous gatekeeper, right? So you met the talking mud crab? That swindler, if I see it again. Easy, this is Oblivion and we should finish our business swiftly. You are right. There. I found the bones of the gatekeeper before I got ambushed. Isha pointed towards a direction and led John to a large skeleton of a humanoid that doesn't look like any creature one would come across. I saw the gatekeeper out there and the damn thing terrified me. Will it really work? Isha asked. John only nodded. The gatekeeper is a monster that guards the gates of madness that leads to the realm of Sheoth. It was created by the flesh magic, a sort of unholy magic that creates flesh Atranax and many other abominations. However, the gatekeeper is officially the worst. Created by Relmana Varanim, a crazy dark elf sorceress who is obsessed with flesh, the gatekeeper is a gigantic creature constructed from an unnerving collection of body parts and covered in metal with a weapon fused to one of its arms. The skeleton right in front of John right now resembled that ugly creature to a large degree. It had a scythe fused in the arm area and metal covering the torso and the neck like a collar. Such an abomination would sure give anyone the creep. The mudcrab said that we need the bones of the previous gatekeeper to defeat the current one, but these bones are pretty damn hard. Even my spear won't break them this fast. Isha said. Seriously? John was taken aback, but Krylon, his expressions. Yeah, well, if it is a moving target then the enchantment will work against it. No need to waste time with breaking the bones. We even need to use the bone shards as blades and arrowheads, which will take time crafting them. These are good bones too. John said. Good bones? Isha tilted her head. I have an idea that might not suit your taste, but it will save us time. John said and cast telekinesis on the bones of the gatekeeper, carrying it in the air and walking back the way they came from. Hey, what will you do? Will you toss this skeleton on the gatekeeper? Isha asked. Now that you mention it, it is way simpler than what I thought of. John reached the center of the graveyard where tons of bones were piling around after the fight of Isha against the shambles. He put down the skeleton of the gatekeeper and started working. What are you doing? Isha asked. Something awesome and bad. John was focused on his work. He took off the scythe-like arm, examined before nodding and putting it aside. He then started to examine the bones of the shambles around and piled up the best bones he could find. After 10 minutes of working as fast as he could, he took out a large black soul gem. Isha was threatened with the appearance of the black soul gem and looked at John while narrowing her eyes. Mages were known to be mad sometimes, and honestly, John was quite the figure. Isha noticed how he can levitate and use telepathy, which are by no means some simple spells that even a warrior like her have at least heard about, but the appearance of a black soul gem meant that necromancy is involved in the matter. John didn't care much about Isha's opinion and took out the skull of corruption. The evil-looking staff that had a horned skull on it was indeed something that made Isha feel the presence of a Daedric artifact like the one she carries, and her eyes widened. John didn't spare her a glance and started casting a powerful spell using the skull of corruption and the black soul gem. The bones around the giant skeleton of the gatekeeper started to shake and move on their own. They all flew towards the giant skeleton and stuck themselves on it. More and more bones moved towards it in rapid succession, and a foul aura started to swirl around the giant skeleton. John's smile grew wider as his success was finally starting to show its signs, and the image in his mind started to take form piece by piece. The spell that he cast was none other than Necro-Construct, a spell that originated from the cult of worms that worshipped the king of worms, Mannimarco. The spell was obtained not too long ago by John, but he didn't have any good bones to try it on. This time he found a good material. During the forming of the undead he had in mind, he slipped in a magica reactor in the skull of the gatekeeper and also the old metal collar and chains that were part of its previous form. Was a bone colossus? Was it a bone Atronax? John wasn't bothered with the term right now, but he couldn't let go of the sudden inspiration he got and had to apply it right away. The undead creature took its final form and started to stand up. It was towering and large, almost 4 meters in height. It was a large humanoid wearing an armor of bones. As it stood up, it put the air of a fearsome beast that sends shivers to anyone who sees it, especially when it extended its hand to hold the scythe-like blade with the order of John. Its final form was in the shape of an Akaviri samurai holding a mighty blade. Isha stepped back and gulped on a dry throat. She was so shocked to the point that she forgot how to speak. I say, rather than carrying the bones of the previous gatekeeper to the current one, let's just make it walk itself. PayPal, 50SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 305 El Diablo 5, The Road of Madness. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. Thud thud thud. It felt a presence comparable to its own. It, which was bestowed no face, no eyes, no ears, no nose or anything necessary to feel with, could feel the presence of those who are supposed to stay away of the gates, and it must prevent them to not approach in any way possible. That's what it was taught by its mother. It was told to play with them as much as it wants after all. But this time, things were a bit complicated. Its rotten flesh was receiving the vibe of a strong opponent approaching. No, there was almost 4 strong presence, but the nearest was the most confusing. As much unholiness as its own, this presence was different than any adventurer that came across the fringe before. In front of the gates of madness, 2 colossal creatures stood face to face. One made of flesh and the other made of bone. One looked like a zombie crawling out from hell with an axe fused to its arm, and the other looked like a death knight in a conical hat, samurai armor holding a crude blade. Basically, that cool samurai titan from Sucker Punch. The 2 creations of mad geniuses confirmed the presence of each other and their battle senses heightened. The gatekeeper stomped the ground with its large feet, waving its left arm with the crude axe fused in it, and punching the ground with its right that only had 3 fingers. The well-designed bone samurai took the stance John installed into him by holding the crude blade with its 2 hands to the side. Damn, I'm good. John couldn't help but admire the way he did things. That blade knight of yours, will it be enough? Isha, who was following John since the beginning, asked in a worried tone. I have faith in my craft. Even though I didn't grant it a good weapon or a name, I put a recovery enchantment powered by a magica reactor. This is a golem more than an undead. Isha was feeling conflicted about the undead. John noticed that and spoke. Please. This is not Mundus, we are in Oblivion. If we don't take every opportunity to survive, we won't make it. I have been to 2 Oblivion realms before, and you will never find better soldiers than the undead to go through them. John said as he remembered his experiences in Apocrypha and Quagmire. Seriously, who are you, Krylin? John giggled and didn't reply as the fight was about to start. The gatekeeper stepped forward with its unmatched legs, waved its axe arm at the bone samurai. The latter didn't dally and avoided casually and countered with an upper slash that clashed with the metal binds around the body of the gatekeeper, making a metallic cling and sparks go everywhere. The two gigantic creatures went in another clash with their weapons, but a problem appeared. The gatekeeper was heavier than the bone samurai, and it could push it by just a ram. Oh, I see. John noticed the shortcoming and started giving new commands to the bone samurai, and its movement started to change. It became faster and more nimble as it changed its style by using fast attacks and evasive maneuvers to dismantle the gatekeeper in front of it. The gatekeeper made a big slash with the axe fused in its left, and the bone samurai ducked down and moved behind the gatekeeper while slashing at its side. The gatekeeper didn't stop and kept the momentum by waving its right fist, but the bone samurai ducked again and performed the same evasive counterattack on the other side. The movements could be described as that of an experienced fighter. How did it? Isha started to disregard the nature of the bone samurai and focused on its movements, then asked John. As you know, normal necromancers are not your best close-quarters fighters. They only rely on the brute strength of their undead. On the other hand, I have experience with martial arts, so I installed some techniques in Odakuro and it is performing really well. Oh, I see. What did you call it again? Odakuro, it a Japanese, an Akaviri word which means big skeleton. Named after a yokai by the same name, which is a skeletal titan made of the bones of those who died in starvation or battle without burial. Odakuro was putting the gatekeeper in a corner as pieces of flesh started to fall from its rotten body. John and Isha noticed that there's something gleaming tied around the neck of the gatekeeper. These are the keys to the gates of madness, John said. I'll go get them, Isha said and dashed forward to join the fight. I'll support you. John also started to seriously take control of Odakuro. The first thing he needed to do was to immobilize the gatekeeper. Odakuro successfully managed to disarm the gatekeeper and pin it down long enough for Isha to arrive and cut the chain holding the keys with her spear. The gatekeeper couldn't be trapped for long, and it used its brute strength to throw Odakuro away. Isha was still close and she was planning to hold the gatekeeper until John brings Odakuro once again, but what they didn't foresee was the gatekeeper holding to a large rock with one hand throwing it at Isha. With no choice but to dodge, Isha jumped to the side only to find that the gatekeeper was closer and about to stomp on her. Shit! Swearing out loud was the only thing she could do as she covered her head and used her aura to the best of her ability to endure the coming attack. Fuss aro da! Yet out of nowhere, a force so domineering and a voice akin to thunder was what answered her expectations. The stomp she waited to crush her down was replaced with a loud thud of the gatekeeper falling away from her. Her head popped up, looked at the giant that fell, then turned to the source of the voice, expecting to see the most terrible beast she ever saw in her lifetime, only to meet with the black-coated man who accompanied her into the realm of madness, Krylon. His blue eyes were gleaming under his dragon priest mask as he raised his hand up and charged a flame spell. The flame was white ashen, and its power was on a whole different level compared to the normal flame spells. Burn! The meteor spell performed by John was by no means ordinary. Once the spell was unleashed towards the gatekeeper, a thundering clash was witnessed and the fire burnt all over the place in front of the gates of madness. The thing that was expected the least was the gatekeeper survive such a spell. Not knowing any pain or fear, the gatekeeper stood back up while its body was falling apart in an ashen fire, eating it piece by piece. Damn! John shook his head while smiling wryly. This gatekeeper was really durable. He then looked at Isha and spoke. I think you should finish it off. It is all your labor after all. He carried her up casually. Nefertiti jumped down from John's shoulder and ran like a black flash to the side away from the fire, then her tail abnormally extended and swung twice. With each swing, a shadow boomerang, was shot towards the legs of the gatekeeper, cutting them down. The gatekeeper fell on its knees, crumbling like broken building. Isha couldn't be baffled more. She took a deep breath and held her spear tightly and stabbed at the head of the gatekeeper. Rain poured down from the skies of the Shivering Isles. The ashen flame can withstand water and even evaporate it, but John wasn't really planning on keeping it for much longer, so he let the rain put down the fire. Nefertiti has long hid in his shadow from the rain she dislikes, and Odakuro was sitting in a corner letting the magica reactor it has put it back together. Good job. John extended a hand for Isha, who was on her resting on the ground. You too. She took his hand and stood up, thinking, why would a mage possess such a strong grip? Seriously, man. Who are you? She looked at him and asked. He was clearly not an ordinary person. He said he ventured in Oblivion before. He can create bizarre undead, and has a cat that can do weird things. His magic is terrifying, and his strength as a warrior could be seen through his movements and the commands he gave to Odakuro. Me? Other than being too handsome to let people see my face, I am an avid enchanter and a collector of dangerous stuff. I also possess some mystical abilities that you call magic. You like showing off, don't you? Naturally. Fine. Thank you for your support so far. You are welcome, but we are not out of the woods yet. Actually, we haven't even entered. Seriously? I thought this was the last fight. Isha almost screamed. Oh, you poor thing. John kept the smug act. We still have to go past the gates of madness. From either mania or dementia, which means we will go through one of two weird forests that surviving through them is going to be one pain in the ass. Isha was on the verge of tears. That's one way to make a lass cry, you bastard. Sheesh, Oel Bruce is here to pat on ya, lass. A creepy voice came from behind John and Isha. They looked at the mud crab that appeared out of nowhere with eyes filled with disdain. I guess we found ourselves a meal, Krylin. Don't go there just yet. I doubt a talking mud crab will taste any good. Ah, you get it too, huh? What a nice bloke. Tell you what, Oel Bruce will give you a discount. Told ya it would rain Sarvo, still interested in a brawly. There are no bottle shops around here for 200 years to warm up in rain. Just shut up. John was having a headache from the mud crab. Don't go crook on me, that the least I can do. No business would come in Thaith parts ever since that guy moved around. Now that you turned it cactus, things will change around here. Do you sell any maps for the mania or dementia? I do. Me maps are the best. Got them from a dead bloke trying to run. But read my lips. Mouth parts? Read my mouth parts? Shomthan ain't right with mania and dementia these days. A lot of feathers and nasty smell. Still going? Yep, here. I want one of every map you got. John took out another 10 gold septims. That's will cost you double that, mate. John took out 20 more. Ah, that's a fine bloke. Young guns these days are so impatient, but you get it. The mud crab said, and started to dig the land beneath it. It buried the coins and wooden box surfaced. Take it, what are you waiting for? John took the box and opened it, taking our many old pieces of paper. Anything else, mate? The mud crab asked. No, bugger off. John replied and started to look at the map. Dickhead. The mud crab dug in the dirt once again and disappeared. John kept looking at the maps he got and confirmed that not much has changed from the game previous to Skyrim, known as Oblivion, other than the scale of the Shivering Isles itself. What are these maps for? Isha asked. Dementia and Mania. These are the two halves of the Shivering Isles. The northern highlands of Mania reflect the light-hearted side of its ruler's madness. It is similar to Vardenfell's West Gash region in appearance, with expansive grasslands and huge mushroom trees. Overlook Road passes through the region. The marshy lowlands of Dementia represent the dark and violent side of Sheogorath, and are mostly made up of swamps and forests of dead trees. The Low Road and Pinnacle Road are the two main routes through the region. I am not sure where my friend is, but what I want to reach is New Sheoth, the capital city of the realm. So, are we going through Mania? Isha asked. Quite the opposite. I prefer Dementia. The Golden Saints and the residents of Mania are hard to deal with and will drive you insane, but the Dark Seducers and the residents of Dementia are friendlier yet quite violent. Both realms are like two faces of the same coin. Just the appearance is more colorful in Mania and very gloomy in Dementia. I prefer the gloominess if we ever wanted to escape from trouble, right? Isha didn't agree or disagree. As John seemed to have more experience with the Daedric realms, she decided to leave it to John. She looked at the gates of madness in front of her and sighed. On the left is the bright Mania and on the right is the scary Dementia. Meanwhile, John walked towards Odakuro and extended his hand. Magical force acted up and the large-boned samurai was sucked in the Haven cube. Isha looked at John with a stiff face. Damn it, Krylin. Just don't drive me insane before Sheogorath does. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. www.patreon.com/Eldokmizi. Discord. https://discord. gg/gkckva7. Chapter 306 El Diablo 6. A fast extra chapter. My connection is shitty AF and the chapter 1 wrote was not saved, so I am kinda pissed. This was written a bit impatiently. Sorry. Extra chapter. Every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra chapter. 8,000 vote. Dementia was just as I expected. A realm of ever gloom. The roots of the mushroom trees were entwined in the weirdest of shapes, and the land was swampy marshland. One can never expect what might pop out of those marshes. Isha and I had to go through the muddy roads and the eerie spots, fighting off strange creatures like the ones I've seen in Oblivion and some even new ones. It looks like Sheogorath was a diligent person who is up to date and downloaded all the updates that a Daedric lord needed for his realm. There were the usual balawogs, quadpetal frogfish, elytras, giant mantis ant, gnarls, crazy-looking walking trees, grummites, frogman, scalin, fish troll, shambles, undefined skeletal remains tied to each other, skinned hounds, no explanation needed, flesh atranax, patchwork zombies, and finally hungers, thin-skinned mosquito-like humanoid Daedra. In additions to the ones I knew, we found a short Daedra with wings and goblin-like face that shoots firebolt. That was an imp. There were also some crocodile humanoids which were called the Daedroth, and some fast-paced dinosaur-like reptiles with a triceratops-like head without horns which are called Clanfear. To top that all, there were creatures that I haven't seen before to begin with. Bird-faced humanoids with scary shrieks and dark feathers all over their bodies, larger variants of skinned hounds, annoying monkeys with 4 arms that do not stop throwing stones. My head. I can't take it anymore. My ally and the one that was deeply involved in this mess, Isha, was having a hard time on her own. The amount of the monster that kept coming from everywhere put a huge mental burden on her. Keep it together. If you want to rest, I'll find us a place. I want to get out here. She was clearly furious as it seemed that dementia got to her rather early. We are not that far from New Sheoth. The place is much safer than here, I guess. This place really gets to me, Krylin. Did we have to go through here? Believe me, the road through dementia is much shorter than the road through mania, and even though the place here makes you mad with anger, fighters like us can handle extreme emotions rather than going through mania that messes with your mind directly. She didn't reply and accepted my explanation as it is. Isha is a bit of a fiery one. She is older than me by at least 5 years, but I don't think she would notice that. Her short temper was a bit hard to deal with during the road, but I could still feel that she is trustworthy. The most interesting thing about her is the Spear of Bitter Mercy, which seems to be related to her labor. As she explained to me, labors are ways of redemption that the Daedric princes uses to force people with strong fate to do their bidding. If that person is to ever refuse the Daedric lord that oversees the labor, it won't end well for the mortal. The princes mostly don't take actions, but it seemed that they promised the champion something in return to the labor. From what Isha said, it is something about her brother that a certain Daedric prince has forced her to do their bidding, but I am not sure what Daedra is that. Most likely it is Herson because of the spear she has. Anyway, the journey continued for a day, and there was no sighting of New Sheoth just yet. We camped a few times in some easy-to-defend areas, and I spread some undead I summoned from the Soul Crane to help guard and defend us. Isha, who was skeptical towards the undead at first, realized how useful they are in situations like that. Don't you have any undead mounts? They can be ridden too, right? Unfortunately, no. I can teach you a floating spell if you wanted. Nah, thanks. I couldn't tell her that I can reshape Atranax. It is known that I as John Dare can reshape Atranax, but I prefer to keep my identity as Krylin clear of that. Anyway, on the second day we finally saw some human-like figures which made us both feel happy, but once we got closer, we were met with hostility. Stop right there and identify yourselves. A woman, with a dark elven-like skin tone but beautiful human features, stopped us while aiming her spear at us. She was wearing a bikini armor and was really beautiful. What is 'tis she? Isha asked. Oh, these are the famed dark seducers, the favored servants of Lord Sheoth. I said things the way the dark seducers like and looked at the one in front of me. Greetings. To you too, mortal. Who are you and what brings you to New Sheoth? The dark seducer's tone became a bit friendly after I boded her kind to Isha. I am Krylin the mage and this spear maiden is my companion. We are here for an inquiry, looking for a friend who came here recently to bring him back. He is a bit late for his wedding. Did you go past the gatekeeper? Yes. Then by the decree of Lord Sheoth, you are to enter the city of New Sheoth. But please, hands to yourself or we will enforce the law on you. This way. The dark seducer pointed the way after she gave us a word of welcome or warning. Whatever. Did she just say city? Isha asked. Haven't I told you? The capital of this realm is New Sheoth. Yes, you said that. And it is a city of mad people. Why is that a thing? Don't know, but it's a magical place. Clearly. And what are those people? The dark seducers? Oh, you can call them the Maskins too. They are the servants of Sheoth and the ones that guard the district of Crucible. Just like anything in this realm, they have opposites called the Golden Saints or the Orioles, who are the complete opposite of the seducers from their golden skin to their full armor. You will also find the Maskins approachable, but the Orioles are as haughty as Altmare. Oh, I see. You sure know a lot, Krylin. Thanks. Isha and I were getting along well. Just a word of warning, the Dark Seducers and the Golden Saints are feminists. What is that? I mean that their society is matriarchal where women are superior to men. Wow! Isha's face grew brighter for some reason, and she looked back at the Dark Seducer we met with admiration. Now we are not getting along. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 307 El Diablo 7, New Sheoth. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. We entered New Sheoth City from the southern gate of Crucible District. The place was as bad as I remember it, gloomy, depressed, and smelled worse than Riften itself. The amount of population and the scale of the city, however, were a bit out of my calculations. The city was much bigger than what I knew, and there were more people, or rather mad people. Funny. The Shivering Isles is also called the asylums, so I want to call them the inmates, but that would cause trouble. Where should we go from now? Isha asked. Shut up, feminists. Krylon, you son of a… Fine, I'll go my way, Isha said and walked away. This is the direction of the sewers. She froze, then turned around obediently. What I noticed in the day I accompanied her in was that she is pretty bad with directions. How she made it so far is a mystery on its own. Sigh. Fine, we are going to the center of Crucible first before heading to New Sheoth Palace. I want to ask someone about something. I started walking to where I thought I would find a certain place. There were a lot of weird people in the way, but taking directions from mad people can be a sort of fun on its own. Finally, we arrived at the center of Crucible, where it started to resemble the game I knew, Oblivion. There were some parts that looked unfamiliar, but I finally found a sign to the place I was looking for, Irl's Mystery. I pushed the door and walked in right away. No. It was supposed to be still. Why did it move? Why? I could hear some screams coming from the inside. Hello, I said out loud. It is not hello. It is hello, more like oh hell. We are dying, don't you see? We may be already dead. Okay. An old high elf appeared from inside the shop we went in. There was a lot of odd stuff in the shop, like statues of weird humanoids and strange-looking objects that move and stop on its own. There were even items hanged in the air and human parts preserved in jars. A delightfully gloomy place you got here, sir, I said to the high elf. Oh, thank you, why wait? Are you alive or dead? He spoke normally, then asked a strange question. Well, I was alive once in a different world far away from here, then I died and I came here. Either if I am alive or dead is a real mystery. I once met a man who said that we are in a big dream of some entity and we are not real. Really? This is a breakthrough. Tell me, young man, have you ever thought of being put on display? I froze in my place. Every single day. Oh, then you are in luck then. I can make that come true. You see, I am a student of the chronomancy, the magic of time alteration. By using it, I will slow your internal functions until it completely stops. I will stop you right there. There is no need to put me on display that way. I prefer a theatrical manner, if you get my meaning. Oh, what a shame. You'd look just perfect. I know, right? This man truly gets it. 200 years ago, Irl was the same shopkeeper of this place. He is a high elf, so I didn't think that 200 years will get rid of him anyway. But here when it gets ironic, for a high elf who may live for thousands of years, Irl is obsessed with time and is trying to stop it so he doesn't age older. That's why he uses the chronomancy, which is a very rare magic, to stop himself from aging. A kind of an enigma whose talent drove him insane. Speaking of chronomancy, I am a student of mysticism and aranomancy, the magic of space alteration. I learned that here is where I can find a master of the time magic, such as yourself, to answer some of my questions. Oh, a master of aranomancy? How rare. I never heard of anyone like you in the Isles. Wait, you are not from the Isles? No, sir, we came through the Fringe. The Fringe? Been a long time since anyone came from there. Then you must be an adventurer, right? Oh, finally, what a wonderful moment. If only I can capture it? Finally, he said it. Oh, why not? Let's do that. I said casually and took out a small light screen from the cube. I then turned around and raised it up. Irl's image and mine appeared reflected on the screen and I gave the order. Flash. Here, I captured it for you. I showed the light screen to Irl. He was frozen and shocked to the point that his jaw dropped and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What? How? Why? Oh, please, no need to be surprised. This is an alternative way to capture time other than the chronomancy. It is called the photomancy. Photomancy? What a beautiful name. The old high elf was so touched to the point that he was about to snatch the light screen from me. I am willing to trade this device with you and tell you how it functions, but it will be a barter. Magic for magic, what say you? I said. Magic for magic? Ah, I thought you'd never ask. Let's hear it. What do you want? Do hurry, time is running and we may die before you finish. Good. When my companion and I arrived here, there was a difference in the time of our arrival. Also, I want to eliminate that difference on the way back to the mortal realm. Just that? How long have you been in the Isles? A day for me, 2 for her. I see. And what time do you want to arrive back to the mortal realm? I left Earl's shop with a wide grin. Not only did I get an answer to my inquiry, but I also bought a mug. Yes, a mug, and there was feminist tears written on it and puppy tears on the other side. Quite a badass mug that resembles me the most. What a treasure! You don't stop once you are triggered, do you? Toxic feminism never stops. Only people like me can stand in its way. Sigh. You really fit well in this mad city, Krylon. By the thinks of it, you seem to know the place very well. Well, we bought many maps, didn't we? I may have sneakily took a look inside the shop and found many preserved people in there. I am sure every madman has a good old mummification chamber in his cellar. I am pretty sure they were alive. Welcome to the Crucible, then. By the way, how did you know that there is a mage in that exact shop? Earl? I learned came from my previous life. Previous life? Oh, I haven't done that in a long time. Tell me, have you ever heard about dragons? And a certain conversation, that was weirdly fit to the time and place we are in, started. Anyway, with my departure way secured, I can now do whatever I want in the Shivering Isles. Earl told me that the time flow between the mortal world and oblivion is flawed right now, and traveling through a rift the same way I did will cause some changes. Luckily, I managed to take some spells from him that can not only fix but manipulate the process. And now, I can head to my original destination, New Sheoth Palace. In the west of Crucible, there was a long stairway going up a high wall and guarded by many dark seducers who stopped us on the way up. Mad God's blessing, we are here to meet the Mad God, I said. We got word of the new adventurers. This way. The dark seducers seemed to be expecting us. It would be weird if they didn't. Isha became nervous, but I can tell that the seducers are friendly, for now. These Daedra are really treacherous more than any other. We followed the seducers up the stairs to a gate in the wall, and we were allowed to walk through it. Still, we were accompanied by a large number of dark seducers. Once we entered the palace courtyard, we walked across the outer corridor to its center, and there were a similar number of golden saints waited for us. Hateful glares were exchanged between the golden saints and the dark seducers, but none said a word. Compared to the dark-skinned bikini-armored seducers, the saints were golden-skinned fully armored, but both races didn't lose in beauty to one another. Sheoth, you lucky bastard! Tone it down, Shadow! Accompanied by the seducers on the right and the saints on the left, we advanced through the central courtyard towards the main building. Blue flames were burning on the right and normal flames were burning on the left. The atmosphere of the palace was as two-faced as everything in this realm. Just as we approached the palace's main gate, we were met by another patch of seducers and saints standing on the right and left of a bald, well-dressed Breton gentleman whose clothes were all red and black. Oh, they arrived already. Well, it has been a long while indeed since the last time we have seen some of those scum who call themselves adventurers. No offense. The man said in a quite the delighted tone. None taken. I smiled as I replied to him. I suppose you are the famed Chamberlain Haskell. My oh my, I am famous indeed. Good for you to know my name, however, it won't grant you any perks around here. Indeed, I am Haskell, Chamberlain to Mad God Lord Sheoth. Thank you for allowing us in. I am Krylin and this is my companion. Isha. She said her name. The wielder of the Spear of Bitter Mercy, and who are you again? Haskell looked at me with a cold gaze. Me? I am the humble keeper of the Staff of Sheoth, I said as I retrieved the staff from the cube and showed it off. Haskell, the saints and the seducers were taken aback all at once. I knew it. Isha seemed to have found what was suspicious about me all along. So, our Lord seemed to have done it again, didn't he? Fine. I am also the keeper of the fork, I said as I took out the fork of horripilation. Seriously? Isha wasn't impressed, but Haskell, the saints and the seducers were taken aback once again. Sigh. The Lord really likes you to make you keep two important artifacts like that? Haskell shook his head while sighing wryly. Seriously? Isha was still struggling with the fact that the fork is an important artifact. But I failed to remember that any of the two were allowed in the Isles. Haskell said in a bit of a cold tone. Oh, I guess we let ourselves in rather rudely. Please excuse us. Ah. Oh, silly me. I should have known. Haskell switched to a tone that was quite friendly and silly. Should we come some other time? No, let's get done with it. What brings you to New Sheoth uninvited? A friend of mine is missing, a Nord, blonde hair, brash attitude, loud voice, fancies himself a warrior bard. His name is John Battleborn, I said. And I am here for someone called El Diablo, Isha said. Haskell raised his brows with amazement. So, both of you are here for the same person, right? What? PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal, me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon, com/Eldokmizi. Discord, GG/GKCKVA7. Chapter 308 El Diablo 8, John vs. the Mad God. Extra Chapter, every plus $10 patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 vote. Extra Chapter, 8,000 vote. What does it mean Battleborn and El Diablo are the same person? What Haskell said made me want to lash, but knowing that I am in the realm of madness, there was not much I can do. Still, that didn't mean my tyrant aura can be suppressed easily even by me. Exactly what you heard, I'm afraid. Quite the amusing fellow he is. I am sure Lord Sheoth will take a liking on him. Can you get us to the bottom of this, please? Isha said. To the bottom? Oh, you need to take the stairway down then. I suggest walking, you know how it goes, just place one foot in front of the other. Haskell mocked Isha. It seems he has no intention of telling us what's going on. Then I demand to meet Lord Sheoth, I said. Those who are present around me gave a dubious look. Haskell then spoke. Of course, you are the keeper of the staff, you have the right, how troublesome. You can of course meet Lord Sheoth, but you need to find him first. Meaning? The Mad God has gone on vacation, Haskell said. Come again? Isha didn't see this one coming. Already? My impression was different. For how long? Let's see, by the timeline of the mortal world, it has been 5 years since he did so. He didn't say how long will he stay on vacation though. And where can we find him then? Isha asked. I'm afraid I can't tell. The schedule of the Mad God is not available for the public. He is in the mind of the Mad Emperor, Pelagius Septim III, I said as I looked to Haskell. His face froze for a moment but became indifferent once again. And I suppose that you knew by using the staff. Nope, just the perk of having a past life. Oh, how amazing! I read a book about those things but it had no pictures so I didn't understand anything comprehend it. Well then, if you know the whereabouts of the mad god, then you earned the qualifications to know what happened to your friend. This way, Haskell said, and turned around, walking to the gate of the palace. The saints and the seducers urged us to follow. The inside of the palace of New Sheoth was just as I remembered it, a gloomy right half lit with cold flames and a bright left half lit with normal flames. The saints and the seducers didn't follow through the double gates, and it was just us three, Haskell, Isha and me. Haskell walked through the hallways of the palace and led us to the throne room, where it was also divided into a gloomy side and a bright side. In its end, there was a throne with the same theme as everything. Haskell stood beside the throne, which is set in front of a huge root laden with mushroom. Due to the absence of Lord Sheoth, the realm of madness is, as you see, a bit docile, he said. Really? I thought the asylum is up and running. It is, don't want people to say I am not doing my job here, but as you see, the Lord is not around, so some folk are getting rather sickly by the minute around the Isles. Sickly? Isha asked. He means less mad, I replied. Exactly, the place is getting more boring by the second, but lucky for us, we had some festivals of our own that can keep the place up and running, spreading some madness into the populace, you see. One of those is El Diablo Festival. To do so, we needed someone to assume the role of El Diablo, and thankfully, Lord Sheoth was preparing for that by laying some baits in the mortal world. Once we found the perfect candidate to become El Diablo, we brought him here in hopes that Lord Sheoth returns to enjoy the festival, but the Lord was ignoring me lately. Oh, poor Haskell. Your sarcasm is unappreciated. So, if you want Sheoth back, you can just send me to convince him to return, and you give me my friend back. I want him sane, not a demented or a maniac, not even drunk. I see that you are a detail-oriented person. Fine then, but only Lord Sheoth can relieve your friend from his role as El Diablo. TSK, now you are the troublesome one. I didn't say it would be easy. Haskell's attitude was getting on my nerve, but whatever, I can handle an immortal Breton. Wait, you are going alone? Isha asked. If it is about Sheoth, then leave him to me. I have a thing I want to talk to him about, I said, and looked at Haskell. Take me to your lord. In a tea party inside a certain gloomy forest, two gentlemen sat down across a table that had all manner of delicacies on it. More tea, Pelly, my dear? A gentleman offered another. Oh, I couldn't. Goes right through me. Besides, I have so many things to do. So many undesirables to contend with. Naysayers. Buffoons. Detractors. Why, my headsman hasn't slept in 3 days. The latter said. You are far too hard on yourself, my dear, sweet, homicidally insane Pelagius. What would the people do without you? Dance? Sing? Smile? Grow old? You are the best septim that's ever ruled. Well, except for that Martin fellow, but he turned into a dragon god, and that's hardly sporting. You know, I was there for that whole sordid affair. Marvelous time. Butterflies, blood, a fox, a severed head. Oh, and the cheese. To die for. Yes, as you've said, countless times before. Half-rump. Well then, if you're going to be like that, perhaps it's best I. Excuse me. A third gentleman appeared and spoke to the first. I was looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver, your hands only. Stop. The first gentleman screamed out. He looked like a harmless old man in a strange purple attire that its right doesn't match its left. That was Sheoth. The second gentleman was a blonde Breton with tired expressions donned in a majestic attire. That was the mad emperor Pelagius Septim III. The third gentleman was a red-haired Nord of a towering height and smiling face. The air around him was dangerous and domineering. That was John Dare. As the first two checked the third, they narrowed their eyes. For screaming out loud, "How do you couriers always find people?" Sheoth screamed. I am here to deliver a message. Really? Sheoth was taken aback. Ooh, what kind of a message? A song? A summons? Wait, I know. A death threat was written on the back of an Argonian concubine. Ha ha ha. Those are my favorite? Sorry to ruin your fantasy. John handed a simple written letter to Sheoth. Really? What is that? Not fun, mortal. Sheoth snatched the letter from John and opened it then. Bang. Colorful pieces of paper exploded from the letter once Sheoth opened it. There was Happy Birthday written on it. Kelp clap 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 clap. Pelagius and John started clapping while smiling between each other. Oh. Thank you, you got me there, silly me. I don't normally get one of those, but why not? Tell me, who was it? Wait. Don't tell me. I want to guess. Was it Molag? No. Little Tim, the toymaker's son? The ghost of King Lysandus? Or was it? Yes. Stanley, that talking grapefruit from Pass Wall. Sheoth went with a few terrible guesses. Oh, wrong on all accounts are they? It was Haskell. Come on. Why ruin the surprise? I am off to me things then, Pelagius said and disappeared in the void. See you, Pelly, John said and sat down where Pelagius was sitting and picked an apple. So, Sheoth looked at John. Your presence is required in the Shivering Isles. You do realize who you are talking to, don't you? Of course, John said and smiled brightly. Sheoth, Daedric Prince of Madness and other things. I think that include cheese and severed limbs. Well, you are the mad god just in case if you need a remembrance. John took out the staff of Sheoth and passed it to its owner. Oh, I see now, how wonderful! How joyous! You are the one? Where is Forky? Here. John passed the fork of horripilation. Oh. He is back, dear Forky. I truly missed you. Sheoth looked at the fork with affection. So, mad god, John spoke but Sheoth interrupted. Quite an interesting title actually. Do you know it is a family title? Gets passed down from me to myself every few thousand years. Sheoth said nonchalantly but John kept staring at him. I know, just like what happened on the last Grey March. Exactly. Wait, what? Sheoth looked at John, but it was John's turn to play high and mighty. Ha. I love it when the immortals don't know they were being manipulated. Their expressions are kiss pure gold. John said as he turned his crazy smile towards the mad god. Oh, interesting play of words, mortal. I may not have to flay you alive and skip rope with your entrails after all. Sheoth met John with a smile of genuine madness. Come on, mad god. Aren't you becoming a bit old-fashioned? We now turn entrails into balloons, especially the intestines, my favorite actually. I once made a balloon giraffe by them. Really? Amazing. Oh, I once dismembered a person and made him squirm like a worm. I once dismembered a spy, then sent him to his employers in a bento box. I once turned a man into his wife and his wife into him. I once dismantled a man and put his parts back in the wrong places, eyes and balls, ears and nose, you know how it goes. How amateur. Listen to this. Sheoth and John went into a heated contest about several topics that involved dismembering people, food, music and cheese. Lots of cheese. So you are saying you created music by killing a woman and turning her entrails into the first instrument ever? John was shocked. What? Don't tell me they don't teach that to kids. Sheoth was furious but calmed down instantly. And you are telling me you invented a new type of cheese? Enchanted cheese. Will make you lose your mind, which you already don't have. I see, but what was that about the Grey March again? The mad god had to cut the foolery himself. John kept smiling as he took another apple. Do you know that they call you the hero of Kratch, the savior of Bruma, the champion of Cyrodiil, the divine crusader and even the Grey Fox? That's quite the number of titles you have there. I mean, you were this boring. Shut it. Sheoth slammed the table between him and John. The world itself shook with that slam, and gloominess took over in an instant. John felt the madness around him, not just any madness but the madness itself. The aura of the god of madness, the embodiment of the natural force of madness, the Siddhis-shaped whole of chaos. Or rather, he felt something he knew too damn well. Well, it wasn't fair, was it? What you had to face in the end. Good move, by the way, slapping the face of fate the way you did. I guess it is my turn now to try and avoid that kind of end once it is all over, John said, and took another apple. Sheoth didn't reply. John just played the tone Sheoth hates the most and survived just like that. He reminded the former self of Sheoth of a bitterness that drove him to the edge of despair, but he rather felt it was ironic. Fate? You ruined my holiday just for that? Why not? When you have a fate like mine, and you will squirm left and right to get rid of it, John said. And look which cheeky bastard managed to make it. Sheoth smiled once again, but he was rather cautious this time. Me. That's right, Bendu Olo. Bendu Olo is the original name of the hero of Kvatch canon by Bethesda in Oblivion construction set. Check Oblivion console for a player clone NPC by the same name. Enough! Sheoth hated that. He hated how his mantled and past personas were always struggling together in his mind, and a single word of mention about any of them would stir order within the chaos of his demented mind. One person did that in the past, Talyam Rend. John knew about the story and easily cornered Sheoth with the fact. He knew the weakness of a Daedric prince. Until the mood of the mad god returned back once again to order, John sat in his place until the realm they were in calmed down on its own. Mortal, I might think of dismembering you in the end. It won't be fun, I can promise you that. Just give me what I want and I won't cause you trouble. We might as well hit it off as junior and senior, right? And what is that you want, by the by? Simple. Give me my friend back. PayPal, 50 SS equals $1. PayPal. me/Eldokmizi. Patreon, remove the dash. Patreon. com/Eldokmizi. Discord. GG/GKCKVA7. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.